Chapter 275. While Patriarch He and Grandpa Zhao were gnashing their teeth and discussing how to hire a killer, young hero Zhou, who had just injured someone, had already swaggered back to Sanwei's study. Kong Zhongwu had already been chased back to the cellar to accompany Xie Ague. Sister-in-law Dan and the farmer had also hidden in a side room. Her teacher had mysteriously run away. Sima Ping could only roll her eyes and return to the study to read her medical books. Only Zhao Yunlong was left sitting in the courtyard, staring at the door, waiting for Sun Lang to return. Once in a while, she would bend down and pick up a piece of dirt from the ground. She would throw it casually, and with a bang, someone several hundred steps away would be hit. They would scream and fall from a tree or wall. After 2 or 3 times, the people who were peeping outside learned their lesson and no longer showed their faces. Thus, she had nothing to do. After Sun Lang returned, he proudly told Zhao Yunlong about his glorious achievements in happily playing landlord. As a great general, Cao Patao had a high status and was extremely arrogant. Thus, she did not understand Sun Lang's spirit of sharing joy with the people. She also did not understand what was so interesting about beating up a group of countryside landlords. However, since Sun Lang was happy, she was also happy. However, she still frowned and said, "Just beat them up? Wouldn't killing them be the end of the problem?" Sun Lang waved his hand and smiled. "You don't understand. It's easy to kill them, but I'm afraid that this show won't work." Cao Patao asked curiously, "Show?" "That's right." Sun Lang sneered. "These 2 landlords were courteous and respectful to me. They just wanted to use me and coax me to die together with Kong Zhongwu and Xie Ague. But why did they fall out with me so quickly?" Zhao Yunlong blinked. "Of course it's because they found out that you had captured Kong Zhongwu and Xie Ague, but did not hand them over. When they asked you, you denied it. They were afraid that you would join forces with those 2. So they decided to strike first?" Sun Lang nodded and said, "That's the logic, but there's a problem. How did they know that Kong and Xie had fallen into our hands? You have to know that the 2 of them were very successful in their disguises. Not only were they wearing cloaks, but they were also wearing high-heeled shoes and had cloth padding on their shoulders. It could be said that their body shapes had been changed. Even if they were familiar with them, they definitely wouldn't be able to recognize them. Even if many people saw us secretly bringing the 2 cloaked men back to the 3-flavor study, how would they know that they were Kong and Xie?" He looked at Zhao Yunlong, his eyes burning as he said, "Even if He Chunlai and Zhao Si had suspicions, they would definitely first conduct a secret investigation to confirm it, and not directly come to my door to denounce me, or even directly shed all pretense of cordiality. Otherwise, if it wasn't Kong and Xie, wouldn't they have offended me for no reason? The 2 of them are experienced and astute, so they definitely won't be so impulsive." Zhao Yunlong seemed to have thought of something, and his expression turned ugly. "You mean?" Sun Lang nodded and said softly, "That's right. Someone must have leaked this to them. That person's words must have a lot of weight. Otherwise, he must have taken out substantial evidence to make Zhao Si believe him without a doubt." Cao Patao said in a low voice, "Was it her?" "I hope not," Sun Lang said lightly. "I'm going to confirm it. If it was her, why would she do that? Besides, there wasn't enough time." Cao Patao smiled bitterly. "Was it because we didn't allow her to kill Kong Zhongwu for revenge? That's impossible. She should also know that Kong Zhongwu was just a butcher's knife. The right choice was to let him live temporarily, find out the real culprit, and then kill them together. She might have run out to calm down for a while, because of anger and helplessness. How could she?" Sun Lang shook his head and sighed softly. Now it seems that Annie Lu ran out to calm down in a fit of anger. Suddenly, she met He and Zhao, who came to discuss countermeasures. She was brainless and told them that Kong and Xie were in Sanwei's study. This guess is probably the best result. Cao Patao thought of something. "Hey, why don't you ask Zhao Si and He Chunlai directly how they knew about this?" Sun Lang smiled meaningfully. "Cao Patao, when you fight with an opponent who is hiding in the dark and thinks that she can control and manipulate everything, the best tactic is to keep luring her until you find out where she is hiding. Then drag her out and kill her. Before that, you have to learn to pretend to be stupid. You have to learn to feign civility with her. Be surprised, and don't be in a hurry to expose her. This is the so-called don't expose people. Zhao Yunlong thought for a while, then shook his head and said, "Forget it. Whatever you say is what it is. I'm only responsible for doing things. So, are you going to find her?" "Well, I think it's time to talk to her." Sun Lang nodded. "I still have to trouble you to stay here. Those two landlords will definitely not let it go. As for what they want to do, even Sima Ping can think of it. It's nothing more than mobilizing the masses to criticize me." When he said this, his expression was a little strange. Damn, standing at the grassroots and walking the mass route are the standard skills of many protagonists in novels. The simple and kind working people gather together and fight against the evil old forces and villains together with the protagonists. Why is it the opposite when it comes to me? It was the same at the Hidden Yuan village. It's probably the same this time. Why am I caught in the sea of people's war instead? Chao Patao waved his fist. Because they are unruly people. Sun Lang nodded solemnly. Yes, it must be because they are unruly people. I'm the partner of justice. Okay? But since they are unruly people, then there's no problem. Chao Patao. If they come looking for trouble, Zhao Yunlong said with a murderous look, one axe for one. Line up and chop down the generals? The ranger waved his hand repeatedly. You don't be so bloody. You have to be sympathetic. You know, they're not bad people. They are just uneducated, ignorant of the ways of the world, and have never traveled far. They are immoral, uncivilized, stupid, selfish, easily instigated, and brainless. That's all. So, you have to be tolerant and gentle. He took out a few small cans from the pocket of his windbreaker and handed them to Chao Patao. Here, when the democratic, free, and equal United States of America suppresses the model citizens who have the sacred vote and can always elect the ruler they want, they usually use some non-lethal small props that will not cause permanent damage to the human body. We also have to learn to understand the spirit of democracy and freedom. Even if the untouchables commit a heinous crime like attacking Wall Street, we can't kill them, right? They're the masters of the country. Zhao Yunlong was still unfamiliar with this magical small can of herring. She only vaguely knew what it was. After all, she had not seen Sun Lang use this thing. But it did not matter. As long as it was something Sun Lang took out, she would not have any resistance at all. Sun Lang briefly explained the 4 basic uses of the canned herring, including suppression grenades, trap cards, annihilation tactics, and the 10-sided ambush. He also directly said that it contains something smellier than feces. Be careful not to get it on your body. Chao Patao accepted this setting without any psychological burden. Using this method should be able to disperse those who have been instigated. Sun Lang, you are really thoughtful. You don't need to kill the other party to achieve your goal. This is what it means to subdue the enemy without a fight. As she said that, she glanced at Sun Lang and smiled. Based on your personality in the past, you would not have done this, just directly cut up the leaders in front of everyone. That should be enough to scare them away. Sun Lang was stunned for a moment. Then he smiled. Sometimes when I think of Ping Yidao, my tolerance for idiots increases a lot. This is one of the few good things he has done in his life. Zhao Yunlong pursed her lips and smiled. She nodded gently. Yes, it is a good thing. Sun Lang looked at Zhao Yunlong's faint smile. Suddenly, his heart throbbed. They had known each other for 6 to 7 years. He looked at this comrade in arms whom he could entrust his life to. Moving with you this time was indeed a very correct choice. No matter how strong a person's martial arts is, he or she cannot be in 2 places at the same time. Once you take care of one side, you will not be able to take care of the other side. With you here, there's no need to worry. If the other party wants to do something to 4th sister-in-law Dan and Xia Agaway, they will have to consider the success rate. Haven't we always been like this? Zhao Yunlong smiled. When we go into battle, I protect your flank. When you do something bad, I keep watch for you. Sun Lang held back his laughter. Nonsense, how is this a bad thing? Chao Patao also could not help but laugh. He mimicked Sun Lang's tone. This is clearly a righteous cause. The two of them laughed together. However, as they laughed, A trace of helplessness and bitterness appeared in their laughter. Zhao Yunlong sighed. I've always thought that although the war was bitter, everyone was of one mind. No one had any selfish motives. Everyone only wanted to chase away the sky demon. Everyone believed that the Empire would win in the end. The blood and tears of our comrades would not be shed in vain. But now, after the victory, the hearts of the people have changed. Everyone has their own thoughts. Sun Lang looked at Zhao Yunlong. Gentleness flashed in his eyes. The dominating, unparalleled General Yunlong naturally did not understand that even in the heavens' origin battlefield, where life and death battles were fiercely changing, people's hearts were not so pure. Under the tide of resistance, there were also dark schemes and exchanges of interests. Evils were slowly growing in them, brewing conspiracies that could change the world. She would never know that she did not notice the changes in the hearts of the people until after the victory of the war, because the person who had silently blocked all the evils and ugliness out of her sight was no longer by her side after the battle on the grand desolate mountain. However, sometimes ignorance was the greatest happiness, wasn't it? Sun Lang smiled faintly. People have 7 emotions and 6 desires. They have their own selfish motives and will always change. Zhao Yunlong sighed in melancholy. I know, but I feel strange that Auntie Lu has suddenly become like this. Thinking of our past, it's hard to imagine that we would be faced with such a situation today. What does she want to do exactly? The ranger raised his head and looked at the clear sky. He said calmly, everybody has their own position. Maybe Auntie Lu just did what she should do. That's all. Chow Patao seemed to have sensed something. Sun Lang, I feel that you don't seem to be surprised by all this? Sun Lang smiled. Yes, I've been through hundreds of battles and seen a lot of things. I've met even greater gods. What's the big deal about this? After all, he had never trusted her before. He said so in his heart. Then, he looked at Zhao Yunlong with a smile. Don't bother about such trivial things. The most important thing is that I won't change, and you won't change, either. We will be just like before, and everything will be fine, but I can change too. Sun Lang blinked. What? Change what? Zhao Yunlong sniffed and turned his head away. I'm not telling you. Chapter 276. It was not difficult to find Lu Shujian. She did not even deliberately avoid him. When Sun Lang saw her, Lu Shujian was in the back garden of the Her Garden. Her slender feet were stepping on the stone well railings. Her whole body was like a flower, gently swaying, maintaining her balance like a delicate little girl. When the ranger saw such a figure, he was first shocked, then his face showed a mocking smile. As usual, he joked, "Oh, this old woman is pretending to be a virgin. What a joke." Lu Shujin did not look back. She was still trying to maintain her balance. Compared to the past, her voice was less hoarse and steady, but more gentle and light. When I was young, this was my paradise. I would look for insects at the roots of the mud wall, find human-shaped Chinese knotweed, play here, stand on it, jump down, jump down. Unfortunately, perhaps because I was too naughty, I was severely reprimanded by my father one day. Then he sent me to the girls' school. He made me learn female discipline, abide by the rules, and do needlework. My father looked down on women. In other words, he hated those women who showed their faces in public. He believed that women should be good servants to their husbands and children. Daughters were used as bargaining chips to consolidate the aristocratic families through marriage. He was a useless person. Useless people usually have low self-esteem. If I were a man, then he would definitely dote on me and give me all his expectations. He would hope that I could fulfill his dreams, because I was smarter than him, smarter than the other brothers in the family. But I'm a girl. It's strange, isn't it? I'm still so smart. My comprehension is still so good, and I'm a fast learner. But because I'm a girl, my father's attitude is completely different. I can see jealousy, hatred, anger, and madness in his eyes. He hated me. He even wanted to destroy me. His love as a father intertwined with his madness as a scumbag, creating a twisted personality. He tried his best to suppress me so that I could spend the rest of my life in mediocrity. He wanted me to become a machine that gave birth to children, a bargaining chip for the Liu family's marriage. So, if I want to read a few more books, he would tear them up. If I want to play with Runtu, he would chase the father and son home. Even if I wanted to play in the backyard and climb the smooth stone fence, he would be furious. She turned her head to look at Sunlang. Her smile was so bright and cheerful, like a little girl who had received the gift of her dreams, like a naive child who had won an interesting game. She lightly jumped, and her beautiful figure was like a cute deer. She jumped down from the low stone railing and turned around lightly. Her dress swayed like an ink-colored orchid. The setting sun shone on her innocent smile, which was as brilliant as a flower. She smiled and asked, "What about now?" Behind her was the huge but desolate 100-herb garden that had long since fallen into ruin. Sunlang's expression changed, and he shouted, "Who are you?" The powerful divine sense of a peerless martial artist turned into a fierce wind, roaring and sweeping through the desolate backyard. This roar set off a wave of air, blowing the stones and sand away, and the grass and trees drooped down. It was as if all living things were bowing down under this anger and questioning. Lu Shujin's clothes also fluttered in the wind, but she was in the center of the storm. Her expression did not change at all. The beauty gently tucked her messy hair behind her ears, and her smile was still brilliant. "Sunlang, you don't recognize me? I am Lu Shujin, your former personal doctor. I watched you come to this world. Don't make yourself sound like a midwife." Sunlang's voice gradually turned cold. "I'll say it again. Who are you? Where's Lu Shujin? You better give me an answer that I want to hear." "I am Lu Shujin." The girl tilted her head and giggled. "I even know your biggest secret. How could I be fake?" Sunlang coldly said, "Biggest secret? This is no longer a secret. I am a visitor from Earth, not a person of this world. Even if I announce this to the world, what do I have to fear?" Oh, so amazing." Lu Shujin's eyes flashed with worship. She clapped her hands, and her face was red, thinking about how Sunlang was a pitiful little guy who cried for half a day after seeing blood after killing someone 8 years ago, and now he has become an invincible, peerless martial artist. It really makes me excited. After all, I watched you grow up step by step until now. It can be considered an honor. You really aren't her." Although he was praised and worshipped by the beautiful girl, Sunlang's expression didn't warm up at all. He coldly said, "Lu Shujin wouldn't use such a disgusting tone to talk to me. That's too much." The girl pouted and said in a coquettish tone, "But I am indeed her. My life is her life. My memories are her memories. I know everything she knows. Her way of thinking is my way of thinking. Even." She blushed and looked at Sunlang. She wanted to say something, but was still shy. "Even her complicated feelings for you, Sunlang, I have inherited them all, and I am even more frank than her." Facing the beauty's flirtatious gaze, Sunlang was unmoved. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Inherited." The air suddenly turned cold, and the murderous aura condensed into frost. "Oh, I spilled the beans." The girl knocked her head coquettishly. "Is Sunlang angry? Or are you sad?" I'm so happy. You actually value me so much." Sunlang's eyes flashed with shock and pain, but in the next moment, the sadness was replaced by anger. He took a deep breath and looked at the girl with bright eyes. "Get out of her body, and I'll leave your corpse intact." "That won't do." The girl shook her head vigorously. "Sunlang, you don't know how much effort I've put in to ask to see you. For today's meeting, I've made so many preparations. I still have a lot of things to do." "You can't do anything." Sunlang raised his foot and stomped on the ground. His body was like a drawn bow as he charged towards the girl with a serious expression. If he had only wanted to kill her, then in that instant, her head would have fallen to the ground. But he couldn't do that now. At the very least, he had to bury Lu Shurin as completely as possible. "So gentle, Sunlang." The girl saw through the ranger's plan and smiled. "Maybe there's a deep misunderstanding between us. Today, I've come to see you, which has already shown my sincerity." At the same time, the earth cracked open. The coiled and bloated roots intertwined together and turned into a huge palm. It wrapped around Lu Shuren and pulled her underground, shuttling back and forth in the soil. The girl's voice still echoed in the wind. Sun Lang, can you wait for a moment and let me finish speaking? Sun Lang listened to the sound of the underground transmission and locked onto Lu Shujin's position at all times. It was very convenient to deal with this kind of enemy who could move through the ground. He only needed to lift his foot and imbue it with sword energy. The enemy who moved through the soil would be smashed into pieces by the blazing sword energy. He didn't even need to dig a grave and just slept underground. But he couldn't do that. He said softly, "Chiwe Wui, I share the same robes with you. Wang Yu Xing Shi, repair my spear, and share the same hatred with you." The girl sighed helplessly. "You're really stubborn. Let's let Sun Lang cool down first." The cold wind blew. The sky suddenly turned dark. The herb garden seemed to have entered another time and space. The cold wind was miserable, and there were howling sounds. Everything turned into a strange purple color. The demonized monsters screamed as they gained life. The fruits and vegetables in the garden, the tall acacia trees, the evil creatures hidden in the mud walls, and the insects and birds hiding in the grass swarmed out in an instant. They rolled up a fierce and evil wind and crazily rushed towards Sun Lang. The number of these monsters was more than 10 times, or even 100 times more than that night. It was as if the whole herb garden was a terrifying demon's den, hiding countless monsters that wanted to devour people. But at the same time, the one facing these monsters was no longer the careless and reckless ranger from that night. Instead, it was the Tianyuan Sword Saint, the head of the 6 armies, and the strongest of the Huda Empire's millions of soldiers. The moment the monsters were about to swallow everything, a vigorous sword energy soared into the sky. It was like a roaming dragon charging through the waves, crossing the rivers, and breaking the seas. Shocked by the bad news, heartbroken over the death of his comrade, angry burning with majestic sword energy, after the 2 battles between Hu Shouxin and Prince Wu Hen, Sun Lang once again used a powerful sword move. The earth collapses and the mountain destroys the sky. The power pulls up the 5 mountains and covers the Red City. The sword energy was like a mountain, pressing down horizontally. The surging and terrifying power tore apart the earth, crushing all the creatures that dared to resist. Purple blood and broken limbs soared into the sky, and the terrified screams of the monsters rose and fell. Whether it was the giant tree monsters or the tiny bee monsters, under the sword energy, all living things were equal, only death. In an instant, the clamor of the back garden was replaced by the silence of death. Sun Lang stood in the middle of the broken limbs, his white clothes spotless. His eyes were cold, and sword energy coiled around his body. He was like a sword immortal that had descended from the 9 heavens, like an azura that had slashed through a bloody battlefield. Not far away, Lu Shujin rushed out from the ground. Looking at the mountain of corpses and the sea of blood, she excitedly clapped her hands. She was not the least bit frightened by the earth-shattering momentum from a moment ago. Instead, she was even more excited as she shouted, "Awesome! I really like the current Sun Lang's eyes. The previous Sun Lang was too weak, too boring. Only the current Sun Lang is the best Sun Lang. This kind of power is enough to destroy everything. This kind of transcendence that sees all things as straw dogs." Sun Lang looked indifferently at the excited girl. His will came before his sword, and the sword energy moved with it. In the void, the next round of sword moves was condensing. "As long as you like it, straw dog. Yes, this is the feeling. This is the feeling. It's simply too awesome." The girl seemed to be unaware of the overwhelming killing intent of the Sun Ran, and smiled sweetly. Sun Lang, do you know, I've been waiting for this day for a long time. I've wanted to see you for a long time. I prepared a very, very good gift for you. Super awesome. You'll definitely like it." She opened her arms, smiled, and jumped, revealing a smile that was asking for praise. "Do you know what's going on with this 100-herb garden? Do you know what's going on with these strange monsters? Do you know the meaning and value of the so-called flying centipede, Kong Zhongwu, and the other 8 idiots' existence? Sun Lang's killing intent was surging, and he was ready to attack at any time. But when he heard the words flying centipede, his expression changed. Could it be, he said coldly, could it be that this is a theme park that you've specially created for me? Yes, yes, I've specially prepared it for you, Sun Lang. The girl nodded vigorously. All of this is for Sun Lang, for you. Everything I've done is also for you. We're the same kind of people. This world is too boring, too disgusting, and too hypocritical. The so-called love and kindness are all illusions to deceive ourselves and others. Let us bestow eternal pain and torment upon this world. When she said this, her eyes flashed with excitement and cruelty, and she revealed a slightly twisted smile. The girl opened her arms, and her tone was bewitching and expectant. For this, Sun Lang, I prepared a super awesome gift for you. These monsters, those idiots, and even this town are all part of this super awesome gift. Believe me, you'll definitely like it. The ranger said coldly. Do you think I'll believe you? What's there not to believe? I've already shown so much sincerity. I'm already standing in front of you like this. The girl was stunned for a moment. Then she stomped her feet and shouted, If that's the case, isn't my sincerity enough? Sun Lang said calmly, So what? If it were you, would you believe a flying centipede that you don't know what it is, whether it has a personality or not, that has taken over the body of your comrade? Flying centipede? The girl's eyes widened, and then she turned in a circle, showing off her beautiful figure and full of vitality. She said unhappily, Who's a flying centipede? Who's that disgusting, low-level puppet worm? I've already told you more than once. I'm Lu Shujin. So Sun Lang thinks I'm a flying centipede? Idiot. Idiot. I'm her. She's just another her. Sun Lang said coldly, I don't believe you. Blockhead. Stubborn. The girl pouted, turned around, and pulled her clothes, revealing the smooth back of her neck. She said loudly, There, take a look for yourself. This is a human spine. Sun Lang said indifferently, Maybe this is just a trick. It's fake and has a special effect added to it. It's still very easy for a flying centipede to disguise itself as a spine. Otherwise, when the host is with their relatives, it's very easy for them to see through it. Then what do you want me to do to make you believe me? The girl shouted, I'm so angry, so angry. Forget it. Forget it. If you don't believe me, you can come over and touch it yourself. See for yourself if it's a flying centipede. Okay? Sun Lang said without batting an eyelid. Okay, come over. Chapter 277. Sun Lang said without batting an eyelid, Then come over. The girl jumped a few steps and wanted to walk over, but her sixth sense as a woman made her feel that something was wrong. She frowned and sorted out all the memories of Sun Lang in her mind. His personality, his skills, his behavior pattern. No matter how hard she thought about it, she couldn't figure out what Sun Lang would do. She was still a little worried. As she walked, she said vigilantly, Sun Lang, I'm warning you. She and I are one. You have no way of separating the two of us. If I die, she definitely won't be able to live, Sun Lang nodded. So she's not dead yet. Hey, what's the relationship between the two of you? Schizophrenia or dual personality? The girl asked curiously. Dual personality? What do you mean? The paladin said lightly, It's a kind of hysterical dissociative psychological disorder, also known as dissociative identity disorder. Anyway, it's a sexual disorder. Simply put, it's a psychopathic phenomenon. The girl pouted and said, That's so rude. No, that's a rigorous scientific definition. Sun Lang touched his chin and looked at Lu Shujin. He clicked his tongue and said, A completely uninteresting old woman suddenly turned into a flirtatious virgin paper. Such a gorgeous change. I don't think it's schizophrenia. It should be dual personality, right? How rude. Lu Shujin blushed and said loudly, What? What do you mean flirtatious and flirtatious? This is called lively, just lively. Sun Lang didn't comment. Instead, he stared at Lu Shujin and kept pacing in circles. He frowned and seemed to be thinking about something. The girl was scared by his stare. She took 2 steps back and said with some vigilance, Sun Lang, what are you looking at? Why are you asking me this question? Oh, I'm thinking about the treatment plan. Sun Lang said lightly. If it's schizophrenia, then use Yang Sherbao's electroshock therapy to let you feel the love from Uncle Sunday. Most likely, you can be cured quickly and let the normal Annie Lu come out. If it's dual personality, things are not so easy. Haven't you given up yet? Lu Shujian said with a smile. Although we use the same body, she and I are two completely different people. Now, the person who controls this body is me. Her smile was filled with gentleness and charm. Her eyes were sparkling, and her posture was enchanting. To be honest, he was already used to Aunt Lu's cold and frosty manner. At this time, looking at her flirtatious and moving appearance, there was an indescribable feeling of pleasure and excitement. Even Sun Lang, this kind of man who viewed beauty as dirt, also found it somewhat difficult to endure. The girl giggled, slowly approaching him. Using a seductive voice, she said softly, Sun Lang, I know you can't accept it right now, but believe me this time. In this world, I am the person who understands you the most because we are the same kind of people. Her waist swayed and she walked over step by step. Her expression was sincere and expectant. She said slowly, compared to that person, how am I not good? We look exactly the same. All our memories and skills are shared. I'm more frank than her. I like you more, and I treat you more sincerely. I'm not like that woman who has too many things in her heart. She doesn't want to let anyone down. She doesn't want to let anyone down. In the end, she let everyone down. The girl's voice was like a whisper from the sky, echoing in Sun Lang's ears. Faintly, it evoked the dangerous memories in the depths of his memory. Do you know what that woman has done? You definitely don't know. If you know, you'll kill her with your own hands. Until now, she has hidden something from you. She and you're not the same kind of people. But I'm wholeheartedly on your side. Everything I do is for you. No, it should be said that I live for you. I want to help you, fulfill your wish, and let this world return to its original color. I'll prove it to you as long as you trust me. Trust. Sun Lang was silent for a moment. Then he smiled. You're not her after all. You don't know how heavy and precious this word is to me. It's not as light as it is now. Lu Shujin smiled and said, It's okay. This way it's worth it, Sun Lang said calmly. You won't have this chance. The girl's expression changed. Then, she smiled and shook her head. It's useless. I'm the owner of this body now. I know. Big sister, your illness is not schizophrenia. In other words, it's not like Fran's. Sun Lang nodded and said slowly, You're in the same situation as Shiji. The difference between schizophrenia and dual personality is that the former only has one soul in the body, while the latter has two. So, suppressing one and awakening the other is more difficult. Although I don't know what you're talking about, Sun Lang. The girl smiled and said, It's good that you know it's difficult. So, don't waste your efforts. It's useless. Who said it's useless? Sun Lang put his hands behind his back and said calmly, I have a way to awaken Annie Lu and let you go back to where you belong, as long as I'm willing to pay the corresponding price. The girl blinked and asked curiously, What price? Sun Lang looked at the sky. The sun was setting in the west. Night fell. The night wind blew and the sky fell. This was not an easy choice. However, for his fellow soldiers, for his comrade, and for the oath of standing with his son, he was willing to make a sacrifice. He sighed and looked at the girl. He said solemnly, The price is my noble character and shining personality's sentiments, chastity, and integrity. I must use this as the price to awaken Auntie Lu. The girl looked at Sun Lang in a daze. Suddenly, she burst out laughing while holding her stomach. When Sun Lang recited the word horizontally, the girl moved. It was as if a mountain range had collapsed in an instant, as if a dam had collapsed in an instant. Her sparkling and translucent jade-like skin was instantly covered with an intoxicating red. Her alluring and delicate body trembled violently, trembling. She raised her head, revealing her smooth neck. Like a beautiful swan, She let out a cry that penetrated deep into the soul. Her expression, from sweetness to pain, from pain to depression, from depression to confusion. It was as if she had tasted all the flavors of life, understood the world of mortals, comprehended the mysteries. Then, with a trace of a mysterious smile, she powerlessly fell to the ground. Her beautiful body was still slightly twitching, like a budding drunken orchid, emitting an enchanting fragrance. She let out a long sigh, as if she had understood the true meaning of life. Then, she closed her eyes and fell asleep contentedly. Sun Lang still raised his head to look at the dim horizon. He softly sighed. Sigh. Have I already become a bad boy? He expressed his depressed feelings and sighed again. Walking to Lu Shujin's side, he looked at her for a while and shook his head. Sigh. You should change your name to Lu Shujin. No one responded to him. No one ridiculed him. In the empty 100-herb garden, there was only him and the girl who had fallen asleep on the ground. The corners of the girl's mouth were still outlined with a happy smile, as if she had fallen into a deep sleep. This method should be useful. He hoped it would be useful. But before that, he should do one thing. Sun Lang squatted down, grabbing Lu Shujin's collar and forcefully tearing it. A burst of tearing sound was heard. Her smooth back, rosy red and exquisite, faintly visible body appeared in front of his eyes. After a moment, the ranger let out a long sigh. Fortunately. Chapter 278. Human beings were fragile and fickle creatures. They would always lose their self-control for various reasons. One of the more representative examples was the what's done can't be undone type of self-abandonment. For example, since we've been playing for so long, let's play another round. For example, since it's already so late, let's write less today. For example, since it was going to be big news anyway, he might as well offend them a little more. There were too many examples to mention. Our protagonist, although he was an indomitable man who viewed women as dirt, it was undeniable that he was still a boy with normal desires. This was a very normal thing and not strange at all. After all, Mencius once said, "If you know lust, you will admire young women." Translated into modern Chinese, it meant that liking fresh breasts and buttocks is the birthright of an awakened teenager. Therefore, when our protagonist paid a huge price and sacrificed himself to save his beloved comrade from the crisis of dual personality and loss of self, it was understandable that he would have some indescribable feelings when he saw that tempting body and smelled that faint fragrance. Since he had already done this kind of thing, then should he carefully examine her body? Sun Lang licked his somewhat cracked lips and his heartbeat accelerated. He looked at the seductive posture of the woman lying on the ground, the dripping fragrant sweat, the undulating mountain range, and the beautiful redness on her snow-white skin. As a man, his instinctive urges gradually made him unable to control himself. Damn, I haven't touched this thing for a few years, but suddenly he felt the night wind blowing, slightly piercing his bones. When it blew on his body, he also felt a slight chill. Not to mention Lu Shujin, who was completely soaked and whose clothes were torn behind her back. In this quiet night, with no one around, in this desolate herb garden, a soaked girl lying on the ground like this would definitely catch a cold. He hesitated for a moment, but still made a decision. No matter what, he had to think more about the other party. The ranger looked at Lu Shujin lying on the ground and revealed a gentle smile. Then he waved his hand gently. The surging internal qi flowed through the meridians, flowing through the yang meridian and turning into the fire element. Immediately, the blazing internal breath spread from inside to outside, like a small sun, emitting invisible heat. In an instant, the area within 30 feet was shrouded in a blazing aura, dispelling all the cold wind and chill. It was as warm as a spring day. Sun Lang nodded. Yes, this way, he won't catch a cold. Then, he took a step forward and squatted beside Aunt Lu like a tiger landing on the ground. His gaze was solemn, and his aura was like a mountain. It was as if in front of him was a fragile and precious piece of art that must be handled gently. He thought hard for a moment and then nodded solemnly, deciding on the matter. Medical fees. I've paid such a huge price and sacrifice to chase your bitchy personality back to the mindscape. It's only right that I receive some compensation for my efforts. Annie Lou, as a doctor, you must understand, right? He swallowed his saliva and slowly stretched out his Qilin arm. His slender fingertips probed out and slowly, fell on Lu Shujin's smooth jade back. Yes, she's well maintained, as expected of a doctor. Then, the next step is, when a person's brain is occupied by sperm, the brain's ability to think will plummet. Sun Lang had obviously forgotten a very important thing. When his fingers touched Lu Shujin's body, the power of the great treasure sword was involuntarily activated. A terrible pleasure rose up like a huge amount of electricity boiling in his limbs and bones. These feelings, in the final analysis, were the strong throbbing of the nervous system again and again. Finally, it formed a violent storm in the mind, setting off waves after waves of turbulent waves in the cerebral cortex. In other words, this was an awakening that was 100 times more exciting than the morning bite. Although she was unconscious, Lu Shujin's body still trembled involuntarily. Finally, the mental activity of her brain soared to the limit. She was half asleep and half awake. Suddenly, Lu Shujin opened her eyes. In an instant, the two of them looked at each other. Sun Lang stretched out his hand as if nothing had happened and said sincerely, "You might not believe it, but I just saved you." Lu Shujin blinked, as if she had not figured out her current situation. She looked dazed, like a little girl who had just woken up. Slowly, she came back to her senses. Her nervous system and sixth senses gradually came online. She felt the lazy feeling of powerlessness and the lingering charm of the mystery in her body. She felt the dampness of the fragrant sweat all over her body. She felt the lack of clothes on her back, and the most difficult thing to say, the mud on a certain part of her body, combined with Sun Lang's seemingly serious but extremely obscene expression that deserved a beating. One could completely read this person's unspoken words. "You had just been taken by me." Lu Shujin flew into a rage. She supported herself with both hands and was about to jump up and fight with Sun Lang. The paladin took a step back as if nothing had happened and said seriously, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you making a medical disturbance? Are you planning to make a medical disturbance? You're also a doctor. Don't you feel ashamed?" However, Lu Shujin did not stand up in the end. She was in a post-incident state. Her whole body was refreshed, and she was too lazy to move. How could she have the strength to fight? The result of forcing herself to stand up was that she helplessly fell to the ground again. She was so angry that her whole body trembled. She looked at Sun Lang with eyes full of shame and fury. You, despicable villain." Sun Lang picked his nose. "Things are not like what you think. Did you think there would be such a melodramatic scene as a beauty accidentally took an aphrodisiac and the young hero sacrificing himself to save her? You are too dirty. You have heard too many dirty stories." Lu Shujin flew into a rage. "Weren't these stories told by you?" The paladin blinked in surprise. Was there?" Lu Shujin said angrily. "Back then, when the famous generals of the 6 armies were eating, they would carry a folding stool and gather in your tent." "Why?" Sun Lang said proudly. "Of course, it was to receive the education of patriotism and the influence of the glory of communism." After the two quarreled for a while, Lu Shujin's physical strength recovered a little. She slowly sat up and felt a little cold behind her. She looked up and saw Sun Lang looking around. She could not help but say hatefully, "How long are you going to look?" "Oh, sorry, I couldn't help it." Sun Lang took off his windbreaker and threw it to Lu Shujin. Seeing that she was still angry and ashamed, he could not help but comfort her. "You, take it easy. Anyway, only I saw it. So, as a military doctor, you also have to have the consciousness of a soldier. Learn more from the ship girl. You can't even be considered a medium break. She doesn't even need to use in or to return to the port." This kind of consolation obviously did not have the slightest bit of effect. Lu Shuren felt incomparably awkward at this time. The feedback from all over her body made her feel incomparably embarrassed and ashamed. She growled, "What the hell did you do?" "As I said just now, I saved you," Sun Lang said lightly. "And now it's not me who should answer your question, but you who should answer mine." "Lu Shujin, do you have anything to say?" Lu Shujin said angrily. "What do I have to say? You saved me? What danger did I encounter that required you to save me?" Sun Lang frowned. "Since things have come to this, what's the point of you hiding it? It's better to be frank. Just tell me, when did you develop a split personality? What's with that split personality? What are you doing?" Who knew that Lu Shujin was even more confused and impatient than him? "What split personality? What split personality? I don't know what you're talking about." "Ah." She suddenly frowned and held her head. Her voice was full of pain. "My head hurts. What's going on? Why can't I remember? Why did I secretly come back to Lu Town? Why? What's going on? This doesn't make sense. Why did I see the Lu family wither and decline, and fourth uncle's family was exterminated, but I let Kong Zhongwu get away with it, and I didn't take revenge? Why didn't I take revenge? Was there anything more terrible than losing a piece of memory? Especially when this memory was so important. Without it, it was like this part of her life had lost the most important core, and all her past actions had become strange and unreasonable. Yet no matter how hard she racked her brains, she was unable to recall a single thing. In exchange, she could only feel boundless emptiness and bursts of pain. Her expression was flustered and helpless, and it was filled with terror and confusion. Sun Lang looked at Lu Shujin like this and sighed sadly in his heart. Now, when he saw this former comrade in front of him with a painful expression, his first reaction was to observe whether she was acting or lying. He squatted down and looked at Lu Shujin, who looked flustered and painful, and whispered, "It seems that before she left, she took away the memory in your heart. How cunning." Lu Shujin's surging emotions calmed down a little. She looked at Sun Lang with a complicated expression. You believe me?" The paladin shrugged. "In my impression, your acting skills are terrible. How can you act so well?" Miracle Dr. Lu's eyelashes trembled. She avoided Sun Lang's gaze and whispered, "Thank you. You're welcome. But now, it seems that we have to urgently figure out one thing," Sun Lang said lightly. "Don't you know that there's another you hiding in your body?" "I don't know. I really don't know." Lu Shujin hugged her knees and sat curled up, trying to shrink her body as much as possible. Although she was wearing Sun Lang's clothes, and the paladin's body was exuding a blazing internal breath, she still felt an inexplicable chill. Another me. How could it be? How could it be? You mean, from childhood to adulthood, everything I did, there was another me secretly watching me? From what she said, it should be so. Sun Lang said calmly. She remembers what happened when you were a child. You were hated by your father. He suppressed your nature and suppressed your talent. He wanted to turn you into a rich young lady with 3 obedience and 4 virtues. He wanted to marry you and consolidate the family's connections. She remembers what happened 8 years ago. She remembers the scene when I just came to this world. She still remembered that when you returned to Lu Town, you were doing something terrifying. She even said that if I knew, I would definitely kill you. She said that you were hiding something from me. She said that the appearance of those strange monsters in the herb garden and the rise of Kong Zhongwu, Xia Agui, and the others all had their own meanings and reasons. Every time he said a word, Lu Shujin's body trembled and her heart turned cold. She didn't tell anyone what happened when she was a child. In everyone's impression, her father was a polite and loving father who fully supported his daughter's career and efforts. He was proud of it and was a famous person within 100 miles. But under such an illusion, there was almost no self-awareness in her dark childhood. No one would know these things. She covered her head and murmured, Yes, yes. I don't remember what I was going to do when I returned to Lu Town, but I do remember that it was a very terrible thing, and I definitely couldn't let you know. That's why I was so eager to chase you away when I first saw you. That's why I tried to divert your attention to the flying centipede when I was with you. But what was that? I can't remember. She seemed to be in pain and at a loss. She seemed to have vaguely grasped something, but it was like a flower in the mirror, the moon in the water. She could see it, but she couldn't touch it. She had a splitting headache. Her lost soul searched in her sea of memories without any clue, but she couldn't find anything. Sun Lang said slowly. If you can't remember now, then don't think about it. Let's go back. We'll take the long view and make a plan. Lu Shujin murmured, don't you blame me. Do you think I'll hit you? Sun Lang shook his head. To be honest, I don't mind what you did. I'm just a little curious. After all, there are not many things in this world that can make me angry. Is that so? Lu Shujin smiled bitterly and said softly, then what should I do next? Undoubtedly, things have become more complicated. Sun Lang said faintly, let's assume that not long ago, you took the opportunity to avoid the surveillance of me and Chao Patao so that you could secretly arrange some things. For example, Zhao Si and He Chunlai came to find us. That should be your doing. Other than that, you might have arranged other plans and tricks. But all of this should be impossible to prove, because your inner personality took the opportunity to appear and sealed you in the sea of consciousness. Even if I tried to defeat and expel it at the last moment, it forcefully erased your memory of this matter, making everything return to an unsolvable mystery. Auntie Lu had a contemplative look on her face, but the result disappointed her, as usual. She really couldn't remember anything. Her memory had become extremely chaotic ever since she escaped from Sanwei's study. This feeling of helplessness was really too uncomfortable. She smiled bitterly and shook her head. So we can only deal with it as it comes. Sun Lang said faintly. Your inner personality said that the 100 Herb Garden, Kong Zhongwu, and the others all have a special meaning and bear a special mission. She also said that she has a gift for me. So, some things will still happen. Just like the plan you arranged before, it should continue to be implemented. Then we'll deal with it as it comes, trace back to the origin, and finally find out the truth. Chapter 279. When Lu Shujin heard Sun Lang's words, she only let out an imperceptible sigh. Everything that had happened in the past few days had exhausted her mentally and physically. The worst thing was that she had lost a part of her memory out of thin air. This memory was so important. Without it, her recent actions were like rootless duckweed, without any meaning or logic. She didn't know why she had let go of the hatred of destroying her family. She didn't know why she was so wary of Sun Lang. She didn't know what she was doing. I feel ridiculous. She raised her hands and smiled bitterly. I feel like a muddle-headed puppet. I don't know what I'm doing and why. It's very simple. All your confusion comes from your free thoughts. Sun Lang cleared his throat and said in a low voice full of magnetism, we are engaged in a life-and-death struggle with the forces of feudalism. Only a complete belief of Sun Lang can protect you. Only complete obedience can save you and your soul. When you don't have free will, life will become simpler. So, empty your mind and follow my will. The less you know, the better you can become. Come, recite with me, Sun Lang, Sun. Lu Shujin looked at Sun Lang as if she was looking at an idiot. You always get excited in very strange places. Damn, what do you know? I relied on this to survive when I was in elementary school. Okay? Sun Lang squinted and said, in short, it's like this. If you feel that things are too f***ed up, just don't think about it. Just be like Chao Patao. Lu Shujin squinted at him. What's the difference between Zhao Yunlong and your dog? There's a big difference, okay? Sun Lang counted with his fingers. First of all, she can live for a long time, maybe longer than me, so I don't have to be sad to see her pass away. Secondly, she is very strong and obedient. Even if I accidentally die first, she will live well. I don't have to worry about her when I die. Moreover, she's obedient, quiet, clean, and pleasing to the eye. When I'm bored, I can tell her jokes to relieve her boredom. Whether she understands my jokes or not, she'll be happy and satisfied because she simply likes to chat with me and won't think about the original meaning of my strange words. Lu Shujin originally wanted to mock Sun Lang, but in the end, she was forced to eat a few mouthfuls of nutritious food specially prepared for animals. However, looking at Sun Lang's calm and gentle eyes, her heart suddenly trembled. Master Lu said softly, "You seem to trust her a lot." Sun Lang nodded without hesitation. "I trust her as much as she trusts me." "That's great." Lu Shujin sighed. "Sun Lang, you'll never trust me." Sun Lang was silent for a moment. Then he shook his head and said, "There's no such thing as forever. Fate is always unpredictable. You'll never know what will happen next." Lu Shujin listened to the sigh and vicissitudes hidden in Sun Lang's words. She suddenly asked, "Then what will happen to make you trust me as much as you trust Zhao Yunlong?" The ranger frowned. "Do you have a fever?" "No." Lu Shujin smiled. Her face was calm, beautiful, and gentle. She said in a low voice, "Women are born with a weak side. Even the strongest woman is the same. When you wake up again, you find that you've lost a crucial memory. Without the support of that memory, everything you've done these days seems extremely absurd. What's more, you know that there's another you hiding in your body. You don't know if you're normal. You don't know if you're still yourself. Your world and the things you believe in seem to all collapse in the next moment. Under such circumstances, even the strongest person will be confused and even collapse, falling into helplessness." She raised her head and looked at Sun Lang. Her eyes shone with the light of stars as she said softly, "Then at this time, there is someone standing beside you that you have always trusted. Will you go and rely on him?" Sun Lang scratched his head. "It sounds like you're going to scam me." Lu Shujin tilted her head. This action was actually a little cute. "I just suddenly feel that in this lonely and lost time, I can rest assured and boldly rely on someone without hesitation. It seems to be a very happy thing." As she smiled, sadness flashed through her eyes. "Although I can't remember what happened during that period of time, I can feel that I was very tired at that time, very tired. There was no one I could talk to, no one I could trust. It seemed that I had been doing things against my heart, hurting people I didn't want to hurt. Maybe I was really tired. Maybe I really don't want to go on like this." Sun Lang smiled. "What is this? A pledge of allegiance? A letter of remorse?" "No, it's just that my mood suddenly changed." Lu Shujin suddenly stretched out her hands to Sun Lang. "Pull me up and carry me back." Sun Lang looked at the beautiful woman stretching out her arms charmingly under the night sky. He suddenly had the urge to cry. "CK, I really want to go to Jihu and ask, what kind of experience is it to choose the seemingly correct choice and immediately turn into the humiliating path when it's clearly at the crucial point of the plot? This is even more King unbearable than not letting me go to the concert. For the safety of his comrade's life, he turned his head to the side in grief and indignation. Although I really want to experience this kind of love story, especially with a cold beauty like you. But you've almost become Uncle Lu now. If I carry you for a while longer, I'm afraid you'll become Lu Chushua." Of course, Lu Shujin didn't understand what Sun Lang was talking about. She didn't know how much courage she had to muster to do this. But in the end, she was rejected by Sun Lang. She could almost hear the sound of a young girl's heart breaking. However, Master Lu was Master Lu. She was really a heroine. She said unhappily, "Where's your usual courage? You don't even want to eat meat that's delivered to your mouth?" Sun Lang looked up at the sky. "I'm ashamed. I've been a vegetarian recently." Miss Lu felt that her temper, which had been gone for a long time, was starting to stir again. She said angrily, "Come here." The ranger took 2 steps back. "You're still young. Don't bite off more than you can chew. The pyramid isn't a place for people like you." Lu Shujin was about to go crazy. "What the hell are you talking about?" Sun Lang sighed. He could see that Lu Shujin was already angry. There was nothing he could do. Since she had just suffered a blow today, he had to tell her the truth. So, he sighed and told her everything that had happened. To put it simply, the wise and powerful Master Sun had recently awakened a terrifying power that could make women pale in fright. Lu Shujin was so shocked that she couldn't speak for a long time. When she came back to her senses, she stared daggers at Sun Lang. "Did you find a lewd, evil skill book somewhere and think that it's a treasure of heaven and earth?" Then you started practicing it happily, only to find that your skill was too strong. So, you went overboard and ended up like this? Sun Lang was furious. Am I that kind of person? Master Lu sneered. Before you say that, you might as well think about the content of the so-called classical martial arts that you talked about in the past. The ranger glared at him. The heroine, Miss Huang, protected Xiangyang City with her own strength in times of internal and external troubles. What's wrong with this kind of patriotic story of great wisdom and courage? Lu Shujin spat. She thought for a moment and said coldly, "Give me your hand. I'll check your pulse." Sun Lang retracted his hand into his sleeve and said with his hands behind his back, "Ping Yi Dao has checked it. It's useless. Don't waste water. As the saying goes, the last drop of water on earth will be a woman's." Lu Shujin listened to him talk nonsense, but her eyes were calm. Based on her experience, she could tell that Sun Lang was determined not to talk about this matter. No matter how she asked, he wouldn't have an answer. She was shocked and took this matter to heart. Then, she said helplessly, "If you don't want to recite it, I'm very tired. How can I go back?" Sun Lang looked around and asked, "Where's your pet?" "The Black King." Lu Shujin's expression changed. She looked at Sun Lang and asked, "Yes, where's the Black King? Didn't you see him before?" The ranger frowned and shook his head. Aunt Lu's expression became worse. Could it be that he has already been? Sun Lang saw that she was a little dazed and comforted her. "I didn't see a corpse, and you don't smell of blood. Maybe he has already been sent out by you. Besides, your snake is stupid and doesn't have a high IQ. Maybe he can't even tell the difference between the two of you. Such an obedient and stupid pet must be very useful. Your inner personality won't kill him." I hope so." Lu Shujin sighed softly. Sigh. Soon, the sadness and worry on her face turned into disgust and hatred. Obviously, she did not have a good impression of her so-called inner personality. It was not Master Lu's style to not take revenge. She thought for a moment, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. She raised her head and looked at Sun Lang seriously. "You said that you just drove the so-called inner personality back into the depths of my heart and reawakened me. You used that power, right?" When she mentioned this sad thing and the great sacrifice she had made, Sun Lang nodded subtly. "Yes, there have been similar cases before, so I tried it. I didn't expect it to work. Anyway, the general idea is to let the soul fall into a state of extreme excitement. At this time, the brain will activate its self-protection mechanism and force people into a coma to prevent them from being played and turned into a meat slave. You have two personalities, so..." He spread out his hands, and the meaning was self-evident. Lu Shujin suddenly showed a determined and decisive look. Sun Lang seemed to realize something. "Hey, no way. Call her out," Lu Shujin said coldly. "Use all means to make her talk." Chapter 280. Call her out, Lu Shujin said coldly. "Do whatever you can to make her talk." Sun Lang blinked. "What do you mean?" Master Lu's face turned red, but he gritted his teeth and said, "Call her out again in the same way you call me back." Sun Lang was silent for a moment. Suddenly, he winked at Lu Shujin and said coquettishly, "You're so annoying. You're making me do such a shameful thing." Lu Shujin immediately shivered. She felt as if she had been soothed by the cold air from the north. Every hair on her body stood on end. She saw Sun Lang's mischievous and lascivious eyes, which almost had the words, "I want to F***CKU to my heart's content," written all over his face. As a woman, she instinctively felt alarmed. She glared at Sun Lang and said, Don't mess around." Sun Lang picked his nose. "Oh, beautiful lady, your requirement for this job are very high. You want to F***CK me to my heart content, but you don't allow me to do some minor work. This is even more embarrassing than a pretentious B***TCH who wants to go to a brothel, but is obsessed with cleanliness, and says to a big sister who's about to take off her clothes, 'Why don't we not take off our clothes, and you could just take care of me with an airplane cup?'" Aunt Lu's eyes were filled with embarrassment again. She gritted her teeth and said, "You have to do what you did before. You're not allowed to do any other shameless things. What did I do before? Sun Lang looked up at the sky and pondered for a moment. Suddenly, he said seriously, learn how to excavate to Lanxiang for eyebrows Lu Xiaofeng, 6 eyebrows after Nick Hang. Aunt Lu was a little frightened. She stared and said, What? What is this? This, Sun Lang said with a kind expression. First, the excavation technique, then the strength of your fingers, and finally the subtlety of your technique. Bah! Lu Shujin's gaze was like looking at a pile of garbage abandoned by society. Hooligan, Sun Lang shrugged. You're scared, aren't you? If you're scared, then don't be so whimsical. Take a rest, and then we'll go back. No. Lu Shujin was stunned for a moment. Her facial expression changed drastically. In the end, she shook her head vigorously, and a determined look appeared on her face. You do it. Do whatever you want. What about it? With all due respect, madam, according to my observation and research, most women in the world, the moment my beep enters their beep, their entire nervous system will probably explode from pleasure. If I want to do whatever I want, Sun Lang said proudly, there are not many women in the world who can live for more than 3 seconds under my crotch. This sentence sounded domineering, but it was actually very subtle. It completely washed away Lu Shuren's resolution and solemnity that had just been born in her. Master Lu cast a subtle glance at Sun Lang's crotch. Is there anything to be proud of? Sun Lang suddenly burst into tears. He squatted on the ground and turned his head to the side. Indeed, there's nothing to be proud of. In fact, it's the most troublesome problem. I've been king myself for the past 2 years. Bastard. Even though Lu Shujin was very worried at this time, she still couldn't help but laugh when she saw Sun Lang's sad appearance. However, she immediately realized that this was the second time Sun Lang had changed the topic. Her heart skipped a beat. She looked at Sun Lang with a strange light in her beautiful eyes and said softly, Don't you want me to do this? After all, you're not at a disadvantage in this kind of thing. Moreover, if you call out the inner personality, you can also interrogate and get the answers and information you want to know, right? Moreover, you can also choose to tell me or not. Sun Lang rolled his eyes. That's why you're a woman who doesn't have a brain. Think about it. She was suddenly attacked in a way that was far beyond her expectations, and she was still able to erase a part of your memory at the last moment. If you call her out rashly, won't she take away more of your things? Or rather, if she can modify your memory, what will you do? Lu Shujin was stunned for a moment. Then she laughed. Are you worried about me? Sun Lang glared at her. You're still laughing. Don't you know that your inner personality is just like a bitch? She's so evil. What if she's a little more capable and has a brain cramp and directly modifies your memory, turning you into a sow that only knows how to be in heat for me? Oh, K. This sounds very cool. Get lost. Annie Lu was about to hit him. Sun Lang was quick to react and jumped away while laughing. The two of them laughed for a moment. Then, Annie Lu seemed to have thought of something. She slowly put down her hand and sighed softly. She said, It's been a few days. I finally found a little bit of the feeling I had when we were together in the past. Sun Lang was stunned for a moment. Then he smiled non-committally and said softly, You said it, it's all in the past. Lu Shujin's lips trembled slightly, as though she wanted to say something. However, in the end, she just smiled helplessly. Yes, it's all in the past. The two of them were speechless for a moment. After a while, Sun Lang broke the silence. Can you go now? Go back first. You need to rest. After so many things have happened, you must be thirsty. What does this have to do with being thirsty? Lu Shujin had just had this thought in her mind when she immediately understood. She glared fiercely at Sun Lang. This guy's words were still so annoying. She slowly stood up. Just as she was about to walk away, her face suddenly turned red. She clamped her legs together and looked at Sun Lang with shame and anger. The wanderer said hypocritically, Annie Lu, what's wrong? The road is uneven. Do you want me to help you? Auntie Lu saw Sun Lang's shifty eyes looking around and felt uncomfortable all over. She said angrily, Move to the side. There are disciples to help. Call Sima Ping to help me. Sun Lang looked at the sky. That's not very good. It's so dark and the road is so difficult to walk on. Lu Town's public security doesn't seem to be very good. Why don't I call Chow Patao? No, Lu Shujin said angrily. I don't want to see her. That vicious woman. No wonder she said that you don't put me in your eyes now and don't even bother to touch me. She even wants to provoke me to touch you. The wanderer was stunned for a moment and immediately showed a dissatisfied expression. This Chow Patao is too outrageous. I'll have to criticize her later. However, the gratification in his eyes that said, the dog that I've painstakingly raised has finally helped me seduce a soft girl could not be concealed. Lu Shujin rolled her eyes. She was too lazy to ridicule him. She said coldly, go and bring Sima Ping here. TSK, TSK, TSK. So many problems. Sun Lang pursed his lips. He thought for a moment and looked at Lu Shujin. How much of your martial arts can you use now? Lu Shujin was stunned. Then her eyes softened and she said softly, no matter what, I still have about 70 to 80% of my martial arts. Don't worry, just go and bring her here. I won't run away. No one can hurt me. Just go and come back early. Sun Lang nodded. That's fine. I don't need to bring Sima Ping here. He looked around and ran a few steps forward. He lifted a floor tile from the ground, stretched out his finger, and danced around it. Lu Shujin only heard the muffled sound of the stone shattering. Powder rustled from the stone tile. Then, he looked at the stone tile and nodded with satisfaction. Then, he stretched his muscles and did some preparatory actions. He jumped a few times on the spot and then assumed the posture of a discus thrower. He spun the stone tile and threw it out. Looking at the stone tile cutting through the night sky and flying in the direction of Sanwei's study, Sun Lang nodded and turned to Lu Shujin with a smile. This way, I don't need to make a trip and leave you here. Lu Shujin's heart softened. This guy, when he's considerate, he's really gentle. She thought of something. Then, you asked Zhao Yunlong to bring her here? Then, won't there be no one to guard and protect Brother Runtu? If there's a problem. Sun Lang laughed and looked up at the night sky. Suddenly, he said, I don't know if you've heard of this saying. Then, he turned his head and gave a thumbs up, revealing his shining teeth. Cloud Dragon Express. The mission will be accomplished. Lu Shujin was surprised. Before she could ask, her expression suddenly changed. She looked up at the sky and seemed to hear a familiar sound coming from the sky. It was coming from afar. Soon, she knew that it wasn't an auditory hallucination. A shrill and helpless scream pierced through the sky. Ah! The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. The moonlight was like water. Under the dark sky, the bright moon and the stars were looking at a beautiful girl who was leaping through the moonlight. She wasn't alone. There was once a junior high school student who had posed in the same position as her. Of course, their expressions were completely different. Sima Ping bared her fangs and brandished her claws in the air, drawing a beautiful parabola as she charged towards the 100-herb garden. Her expression was panicked and desperate. She was about to burst into tears as she shouted in exasperation, "Oh, save me! Save me!" Seeing that the beauty was in trouble, Sun Lang stood up without hesitation. Facing the young girl flying towards him, he opened his loving and warm arms and said with a kind expression, Come into Uncle's arms. Get lost. Master, come and catch me, ah." At the crucial moment, Lu Shujin took a step forward and gently extended her arm to catch Sima Ping, who was charging over. Her beautiful figure spun twice on the ground, her clothes fluttering like a blooming orchid as she caught her student firmly. Sima Ping had just recovered from her shock when she suddenly felt that her head was on top of a pair of peaks. She struggled to raise her head and saw Lu Shujin's cold face with a hint of red, reflecting a cold halo under the moonlight. She said in a daze, "Sir, you're so beautiful. Also, the smell on your body is really nice. I don't think I had this smell before." Then Lu Shujin expressionlessly let go of her hand and took a step back. Sima Ping's footing was unstable and she had just enjoyed a space flight, so her legs were still weak. In the end, She sat on the ground and fell on her, but seeing this, Sun Lang immediately went forward and asked, Io, a beautiful young girl who fell from the sky, are you an alien princess or a robot that fell from the sky? Sima Ping saw Sun Lang's face and immediately felt the blood in her body surge. She didn't know where she got the strength from, but she jumped up and pointed at him and scolded, You two bastards! Bastards! I was reading the medical book in my room when Zhao Yunlong, that fellow, came in with a brick and said you were looking for me. I thought you were back. In the end, once I reached the courtyard, she lifted me up by my waist and threw me here. Can't you let me walk over myself? Must you use such a method? Is there anyone like you? I was eating snacks and reading the medical book in my room when suddenly I was thrown here. Sun Lang said innocently. There's such a thing? Sai, it's all my fault. I didn't make it clear. Chao Patao's method of execution is a little problematic. I'll criticize her later. However, Chao Patao did it for your own good. After all, it's late at night. How dangerous is it to walk at night? The air route is safer, more direct, and faster. After all, your body shape is also perfect for aerodynamics and fluid dynamics. The air resistance is not big at all. Although I don't understand what you are saying, I have a strange feeling of anger. It's just your imagination. The ranger smiled calmly. All right, your master is here. You're responsible for bringing her home. Sima Ping finally had time to look at her master. The more she looked, the more she felt that something was wrong. Why was her master's face a little red? Why did she have a nice smell on her body that made her blush and her heart beat faster after smelling it? Why was she wearing Sun Lang's coat? Why was the surroundings so messy? What exactly happened? Even with her poor experience and lack of knowledge about the two sexes, she could deduce a terrible conclusion. She gasped and looked at Sun Lang in disbelief. Sun Lang smiled and nodded. His eyes emitted a loving light. Come, call me master. You can also call me father, Lu Shujin said coldly. Call you big head ghost. Sun Lang said sadly, so sad. After being eaten and wiped clean, I was abandoned. Lu Shujin snorted and ignored this guy. She directly said to Sima Ping, the best way to deal with this kind of man who likes to talk nonsense is to ignore him. Let's go. Sima Ping nodded obediently. Then, she secretly glanced at Sun Lang from the corner of her eyes. Very good. When the time comes to complain to the big cow, there will be another one. After sending Lu Shujin, who was unable to move for some reason, home, Zhao Yunlong, who was sitting in the courtyard, stood up. First, he looked at Sima Ping, who was glaring at him, and laughed foolishly. Then, he looked at Lu Shujin and sized her up. He exclaimed, Sun Lang, took your virginity? Lu Shujin looked expressionlessly at Zhao Yunlong, who had a playful expression. Then, she looked at Sun Lang. I'm tired. I'm going to rest first. Got it. Drink more hot water. Sun Lang waved his hand and said to Zhao Yunlong, Chao Patao, tonight's mission will be more important. You. But before they could finish their words, their expressions changed and they looked outside. A large number of footsteps were approaching, attacking in the middle of the night. How bold. Sun Lang smiled coldly. Then, let's entertain the guests first. Chapter 281. In the night, Fourth Elder Zhao looked at the surging tide of people. His eyes flashed with a mixture of excitement and fear. He was excited because tonight he was going to complete another brilliant plan of using someone else to do his dirty work. The ignorant commoners in front of him only needed some instigation and small profits to turn from numb and timid cowards into fearless jackals and wolves. They were crueler and fiercer than anyone else. They were strange. When they were alone, they were meek, they were timid, they were cowardly, and they would bear it in silence as long as they were not driven to a dead end. They would pay large sums of rent honestly as long as they could support their families and endure the exploitation of the magistrate and the squire. However, they were not purely harmless cattle and sheep. In order to compete for water, two villages would always fight and kill each other. Perhaps one of the honest men had once used a hoe to open a few people's skulls. However, It was also this group of people who were so fierce when fighting with the neighboring villages, but when they saw the landlord or the government, they would kneel more humbly than anyone else. Were they brave? In fact, they were brave, but there was only one point. Did they have evil in their hearts? Yes, the vast majority of the weak had evil in their hearts. The reason they did not do evil was not because of the moral constraints in their hearts, but because they did not have the ability to bear the consequences. Their courage was so small that it would only explode when they had no other way out and could no longer live. As a result, they were usually unable to vent the evil that had accumulated in their hearts for a long time. However, if a group of such people gathered together, then miraculously, their courage would increase exponentially. Being coerced by many people like themselves, the timid farmers would become bloodthirsty jackals and do things that they normally would not dare to do. This was because the gathering effect would also magnify the evil in their hearts, giving them the strength and courage to vent their evil. Since ancient times, this kind of thing was not rare. From bandits to rebels, they were all a group of people who had once been lowly. They were madly venting the malice that had accumulated in their hearts for a long time. They robbed and killed the gentry of large families, even besieging cities and seizing lands. They even shook the imperial power. They were once arrogant, but in the end, they were defeated. This was the beauty of power. Everyone who had tasted it would betray their original intentions and become the people that they had once hated and envied. Looking at those excited and dissatisfied faces, Old Man Zhao sneered inside. Motley crowd, lowly commoners. Because of this, you will always be ruled, used, played, and controlled. You will never be successful. You will always be the cattle and sheep that feed the superiors. Those who rule this world, and you will always be superiors like us. Suddenly, a low chuckle came from beside him. Hearing this voice, the complacency and contempt in Fourth Master Zhao's eyes disappeared, and his entire body shivered. The person beside him was the source of his fear and uneasiness. He was a very dangerous person. If there were people in this world that were feared by the elites of society like him, then the person beside him was obviously one of them. As stupid as a lowly commoner, as lowly as a lowly commoner, as suspicious as a lowly commoner, and as short-sighted as a lowly commoner. But such people could also enjoy extravagant clothing and food, and even sit on equal footing with the noble superiors like himself. They ruled the world together and stood high above the clouds. The reason for all of this was because they were born with a body of martial arts. They refined qi into spirit and had great strength that surpassed ordinary people. They had the power to cause blood to splatter in 5 steps because they were martial artists. Even if they were illiterate, even if they were vulgar and stupid, even if they were ugly, as long as they were martial artists, as long as they were strong enough, nothing would be a problem. This was simply too unfair. At this time, Old Man Zhao had to complain about the unfairness of the heavens and his own limited aptitude. But even if he was dissatisfied, he still had to put on a smile and bow his head to the evil forces. The reason was also very simple. The person beside him was not only a martial artist, but also a madman and an assassin. Such a person was like a mad dog. If he could not provoke him, then he would not provoke him. The Five Savages Society was an assassin organization that ran amok in the Suizhou area. It was incomparably mysterious, and its methods were astonishing. Very few people knew that their old nest was hidden in a small village around Lu Town. The person beside him was a member of the Five Savages Society. This evening, Old Man Zhao and Master He were shocked to learn that Zhou Sun had betrayed them. They came to ask for an explanation, but not only were they rebuffed, they were also chased up and beaten. Thus, Old Man Zhao became bold and directly found an assassin from the Five Savages Society. He must make that bastard surnamed Zhou bleed within 5 steps. This assassin had a tall stature and was wearing a short black costume. There were 4 flags on his back, and he held a long spear in his hand. His long beard fluttered in the wind, and his attire was clearly that of an archer from the stage. He turned his head to look at 4th Elder Zhao and coldly laughed twice. He wore an ape mask on his face, and it was painted with a grimace and an angry glare. Coupled with his cold laughter, it added a few points of strangeness. The people of the Five Savages Society were all demons with mental problems. They had abilities and strange temperaments. They were extremely difficult to deal with. Even a lofty and proud old man, Zhao squeezed out a bit of smile. "Mr. Ape, my surname is not Ape. Don't be so sour. What Mr. or Mister? I'm not fucking old, nor am I a demon. You old thing look like you're about to have half your body in the ground. You're definitely older than me. Naturally, I'm your mister." That martial artist temper seemed to be very bad. He spoke like a string of cannons. "Just call me Ironhead Ape." However, his movements were very friendly. He reached out and patted old man Zhao's shoulder. His tone became kind. "Do you know why I laughed just now? It's because I admire you. It seems like we're all people of the same path. Moreover, your realm seems to be a bit higher. Do you know why?" Old man Zhao's heart was filled with disgust when this masked madman patted his shoulder. However, he did not dare to become hostile. He only forced a smile and said, "Please tell me. I won't hide it from you. Our Five Savages Society has 5 brothers and sisters. Each of us has our own abilities." Ironhead Ape said with a smile. "Like me, I can control apes and demons. My younger brother, Tiger Rakshasa, can control lions, tigers, leopards, and so on. The other brothers and sisters also have their own abilities to control insects and beasts. However, compared to your methods, they are a bit lacking." Old man Zhao said blankly. "Where did this come from? I don't know the art of controlling beasts." Ironhead Ape chuckled and pointed at the turbulent flow of people heading towards Sanway Study. The torches lit up the night sky of Lu Town. He slowly said, "The insects and beasts we control are only muddle-headed creatures that have yet to develop spiritual intelligence. You old masters, however, can control living people like animals. Moreover, you don't use force or whips. You only use schemes and money. I'm afraid these people would never think that they are only your chess pieces." "This method is really amazing." Old man Zhao's expression changed. He said lightly, "You must be joking." "Joking? I never tell jokes in my life." The old iron-headed ape drew back his hand and said coldly, "Humans are no different from beasts. These people who have been living in ignorance their whole lives are like the lowest members of the herd of beasts. The government controls them with whips and sabers. You control them with land and stratagems, forcing them to farm, work, mine, build, fight for you, and even satisfy all your wishes. You are also controlled by people who are more powerful than you through the methods that you've used, such as force or intelligence. The one who stands at the highest point of this huge herd of beasts is the emperor in the capital. He controls all of you with sabers, swords, and brains. The truth of the world and the rules of the imperial court are actually no different from those of wild beasts. What you've done is actually no different from that of beasts. Don't feel proud of yourself. Don't be complacent." Old man Zhao's expression changed abruptly. He was almost angry, but he finally restrained himself. Such a lunatic was not worth provoking. He would be at a disadvantage if he fought with him. Ironhead Ape saw the change in his expression and nodded, seeking advantages and avoiding disadvantages. Bowing to the strong is also the nature of animals. Zhao Si said coldly, "Is this the reason why you call yourself Old Ape?" Ironhead Ape clapped his hands and laughed. "In the human world, I am also an animal. In the mountains, I am also an animal. Why not be a free animal? In the mountains, I am my monkey king. Isn't that wonderful?" Old man Zhao snorted and tried to restrain his disgust. He said coldly, "Don't talk about your strength of character and principles of living in seclusion in the mountains. This is only a transaction. I will pay, and you will do it. The opponent is not weak. It can even be said that he has some skills. Are you confident? If you make a mistake, you won't be able to become the Monkey King anymore." "Master, you don't need to worry. The Five Savages Association has never failed." Ironhead Ape said slowly, "When we make a move, we always have double insurance. This time, I am in the open and my brother, Tiger Rakshasa, is in the dark. If both of us can't deal with him, You can rest assured. Since the Five Savages Association has taken the money, they will keep their word and do it well. At that time, there will naturally be people who can deal with him. Old Master Zhao nodded, and his expression became a little better. Tonight, I've created an excellent opportunity for you. These untouchables have already been incited to attack, San Wei study. We've arranged people in the crowd, and when the time comes, they'll make a ruckus and throw something to ignite the fire. When the time comes, he'll become the public enemy of Lu Town and be the target of public criticism. No matter if he retaliates angrily or escapes in a panic, his mind will definitely be in a mess. When the time comes, it'll be the best time for you to take action. If you can get rid of him tonight, it'll be the best. That's why I said that you are ruthless. Ironhead Ape said with emotion. Not to mention other things, even the one surnamed Zhou will not be able to deal with this obstacle. As a person who calls himself a hero, do you want to make a move on these unarmed and innocent people in front of you? In this world, evil people have more means than good people. They have no scruples. How can good people win? Chapter 282. That's why I said you guys are ruthless. The Ironhead Ape sighed. Let's not talk about anything else. That Zhou guy probably won't be able to deal with this. As a self-proclaimed hero, is he going to attack these unarmed, innocent people in front of him? In this world, evil people have more tricks up their sleeves than good people, and they have no scruples. How can good people win? Elder Zhao was secretly mocked again, and he was very unhappy. However, at this moment, the hatred he had for Zhou Sun was still much greater than the hatred he had for the iron-headed ape. When he thought that the thick-skinned bastard was going to die tonight, his conflicted mood became better. The deep-rooted bad habits of human beings were revealed at this moment. He really wanted to see the miserable appearance of Zhou Sun when he was about to die. Therefore, he made a decision that he would definitely regret in the future. Let's go and take a look. You also have to observe the timing of the attack, right? The iron-headed ape glanced at him and smiled knowingly. You want to see the miserable appearance of your opponent before he dies? This is really like a beast, right? Elder Zhao said lightly. Then he stepped forward and followed the noisy crowd. The iron-headed ape smiled and followed him. In fact, it's not like that. When there's a power struggle in many groups of beasts, after the new king defeats the old king and ascends to the top, he usually only exiles the old king instead of killing him. They also don't want to see his appearance before he dies. It seems that only humans can humiliate the loser and gain pleasure from it. Zhao Leoi snorted coldly. They followed him in silence. Whispers could be heard in their ears. Someone was making a racket in the crowd, guiding everyone's anger and stirring up everyone's emotions. Vaguely, they could even see someone waving their arms and shouting, "Those two bastards! They finally lost their power. They finally have something to look forward to." That guy surnamed Zhou actually refused to kill them? Does he want to wallow in the mire with them? Did he accept the money from those two people? We have to ask clearly. These two people's money was taken from us, so they should return it to us poor people. Shouldn't all heroes be like this? Since ancient times, money and silk moved people's hearts. Through the persuasion and brainwashing of the shills in the crowd, and with the help of the shining silver, these people accepted the logic of these two people are beasts. Although we have no choice but to call them masters, if someone captures them, we must hand them over. Oh, and money. Another person waved a large amount of copper coins and shouted. Master, he said that with a generous reward, there will be brave men. Later, whoever shouts louder will be given money on the spot. Whoever can stand up, get rid of the evil for the people, and speak for justice, will become a hero of Lu Town. Not only will he be regarded as a hero by the neighbors, but he will also earn shining silver. The iron-headed ape shook his head and did not say anything. He chuckled and said, I guess that after a while, someone will say that whoever dares to rush in and drag the two bastards out will get their properties and land. The rewards and tasks will increase layer by layer. Wealth makes people dizzy. When such a great reward comes out, I guess that these simple and lovely people will intermittently forget that the two bastards are strong enough to kill them with one punch. This is where their stupidity lies. Short-sighted, ridiculous, and blinded by greed. Master Zhao sneered. I have lived for so long, and I have read history. In the history of the Qing dynasty, from ancient times to now, I have never seen this group of lowly people succeed. Even if there are one or two heroes who rise from the bottom, in the end, the world is still ruled by the same group of people, isn't it? No matter the change of dynasties, the rise and fall of the world, this group of people will always sink to the bottom of the world. It's just that the people who rule them change. Do you know why? He looked at the iron-headed ape with eyes as sharp as a knife and sneered, because those who really care about the world and want to do something for them are almost all killed by them in the end. The history is stained with blood. Is it like young hero Zhou in the Samway study? The iron-headed ape glanced at the brightly lit building not far away. Isn't it you who killed him? No, you're wrong. If these lowly people are not stupid, then even if I have a glib tongue and great wealth, I can't persuade them at all. Master Zhao's eyes were cold, so they're still the ones who killed him. They killed a hero who really fought for the people, so that we, the upper class, can better enslave and exploit them. In this world, is there anything more wonderful than this? You are right. The history is stained with blood. People like you will never disappear, so these muddle-headed people will always be enslaved. Unfortunately, no one can change anything. This is the way of the world. The iron-headed ape clenched the long spear in his hand. After a moment of silence, he said faintly, However, I respect heroes and heroes. In a while, I will let him die more easily. Zhao Si sneered slightly and looked at the crowd that was getting more and more enthusiastic. With this situation, how can he die easily? The iron-headed ape was about to speak, but suddenly a vigorous and righteous voice came from the front. Actually, engineers can defuse the bombs set by Crazy Ivan, but the explosion is too fast, so it's usually too late. What the F***CK does this mean? Just as this thought appeared in the person's mind, he smelled a violent explosion. Yes, he smelled it. In an instant, hell descended upon him. Someone's deep and elegant voice echoed in the night. Now, I'll let you see the biggest secret of Vega Shaka. Skydance treasure wheel. Your 5 senses have been deprived by me. It turned out that Feros' use of tear gas to drive away the unruly people on the streets was very useful. These terrible things that stimulated the senses would instantly cause a great impact on human beings. The crowd fell into chaos and fear. Everyone screamed, ran away, jumped, and slapped their bodies to get away from this terrible smell. However, Sun Lang knew that everything that happened tonight was caused by the undeveloped wisdom of the people and the selfish and evil feudal forces. As long as this fundamental problem was not solved, the same thing would happen again. A canned herring was far from enough to solve the problem. So, he threw 2 more canned herrings. Cry, scream, and run. His wild laughter, like that of a great demon king, resounded through the night sky. If you come again, I'll hack you to death. A bunch of stinky idiots. Everything was like a nightmare. The brave people ran like pigs and wolves. Under the canned food, all living things were equal. Even the superior 4th elder, Zhao, was not spared. The old man looked at the extremely ironic scene around him with a blank expression. He even lost the strength to get angry. The iron-headed ape was also hit. The assassin of the 5 Savages Society glanced at the old man with a complicated tone. This hero is not very particular. Chapter 283. Hearing this, Lord Zhao glanced at the iron-headed ape in a daze and didn't say anything. He looked like he had lost interest in life. It seemed that he hadn't come back to his senses from this godly scene. Someone's performance was still going on. Friend behind me, how are you doing? I'm Zhou's son. Come on, sing with me. In my heart, fly freely. Let's drink. Let's drink again. Accompanied by the energetic shouts, the night sky of Lu Town echoed with the strong sound of the era. Come on, have fun. Anyway, I have time. Lots of time. Another 3 anti-infantry biochemical special bombs soared into the sky and drew deadly arcs in the air. This time, the attack came from the sky. 3 cans of evil of this world suddenly exploded in the air and fell down like rain, forming a large AoE attack that covered a large area and covered everyone's faces, setting up a domain of despair. The citizens of the Empire who had enjoyed the treatment of being dispelled by human rights in a democratic country a long time ago were simple, kind, upright, and brave. They were not afraid of power, and they were brave enough to fight. Before they came here, they had decided to fight against the evil forces. However, no one had expected such a situation, right? The horrible things that fell from the sky, the panicked screams of their companions, and the unbearable, horrible aura tortured their senses. The most terrible thing was that the people around them were screaming and running away. No one would encourage them. No one would give them courage. No one would offer them high rewards. No one would promote a bright future, and no one would give them the confidence and strength to make their evil thoughts restless. Therefore, they all ran away. Everyone was screaming, running away, and screaming in fear. It was not only because of the unbearable terrorist attacks, but also because the people around them were doing the same thing. There were a bunch of mobs. The old Master Zhao was caught in the crowd, drifting left and right. Fortunately, the Empire valued martial arts, and he boasted that he was the inheritor of poetry and swordsmanship. Although he was old now, his body was still strong, and he was not trampled to death. However, he still followed the crowd and could not help but sway left and right. Moreover, he mixed with this group of stupid bumpkins. His body, face, and even beard were rubbed with a large amount of disgusting smells. In this desperate and chaotic situation, all identity and wisdom became meaningless. Only strength, the barbaric, primitive, and useful strength, was the last thing he could rely on. Fortunately, the iron-headed ape still had some professionalism and service awareness. He forcibly barged into the crowd and pulled 4th Elder Zhao out. At this time, 4th Elder Zhao was already somewhat muddle-headed from being squeezed. Coupled with the unknown liquid smeared all over his head and face, it was very easy for people to have some bad thoughts. Motherf asterisk her. The iron-head ape cursed inwardly. He raised his hand and slapped 4th Elder Zhao twice. Come back to your senses. Wake up. Have you lost your mind? Do you still want to work? Lord Zhao stared blankly at the iron-headed ape. His muddy old eyes gradually became spirited. Then, his lips trembled slightly, and his whole body shivered. The chaotic scene and the stench that almost drove him crazy were all unacceptable to this old gentleman of Lu Town. He could fail, he could bow his head, but he couldn't lose in such a strange and cowardly way. The flames of fury burned fiercely, swallowing his reason and breeding his killing intent. He stared fixedly at the iron-head elder ape and suddenly exploded, roaring at the top of his lungs. Kill him! Kill him! Kill him! Kill him! I'll give you however much money you want. Go and kill him now. Kill him! Kill him! Let him die miserably. Push him into the latrine and drown him. Looking at Lord Zhao, who lost his composure and cursed like a scoundrel, the iron-headed ape's eyes flashed with a trace of disdain and ridicule. You used to be high and mighty and called yourself an elite, and there was a world of difference between you and a commoner. But at this moment, aren't you just like a country bumpkin? When you strip away the clothes of power and wealth, what are you people left with? However, disdain aside, work must be done and money must be taken. He glanced at Sanwei's study not far away and smiled secretly. Although this young hero Zhou was not particular, he was really interesting. It would be a pity for such a person to die. Then, let him die more comfortably. But the next moment, the incomprehensible ultimatum of the King of Hell sounded from the dragon's pool and tiger's den. Secura Casido. Flash. Light messenger. His heart skipped a beat, and he raised his head to take a look. Coincidentally, a small canister was flying through the air, making a strange curve in the air and coincidentally flying towards where the two of them were hiding. F*CK. The iron-headed ape only had time to curse before dragging Lord Zhao and running. However, Sicarato Casido, both of you flashed together. Wave messenger, storm messenger. Two more air-piercing sounds pierced through the air, whistling over. Three small canisters resonated with each other in the air and exploded at the same time. The explosions covered each other, shrouding a huge space and sprinkling down a rain of death feces that could not be avoided. Boom, boom, boom. The smoke dispersed, leaving behind desolation and wounds on the ground. The two poor people looked at each other and were speechless for a long time. The iron-headed ape wiped the unknown substance off his beard and flew into a rage. I'm going to kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him, drown him, and stink him. He roared. This bastard is dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. Lord Zhao looked at him blankly. Then what are you waiting for? The iron-headed ape was filled with anger. He clenched the spear in his hand and threw the fish head away. He gritted his teeth and rushed in the direction of Sandway Study. But after a moment, he retreated at the same speed. Old Master, Zhao looked at him with a hopeless expression. What's wrong? You were splashed all over again? Bah! The iron-headed ape spat and said angrily, No, I thought about it. This is letting him off too easily. I can't take this lying down either. This bastard actually dared to do such a shameless thing. If I kill him with a spear, not only will it be letting him off too easily, he will definitely not accept it. I want him to pay a sufficient price. Hearing this, Lord Zhao's mind recovered a little. Although he was also very angry, he also knew that cutting the weeds without removing the roots would lead to trouble in the future. The old man said decisively, No, let's do it tonight. A long delay means trouble. Trouble your head. I'm not your dog. I have the final say on when to bite. The iron-headed ape said angrily. That bastard used such a dirty trick on those weak commoners. If I kill my way in, I don't know what kind of trap is waiting for me. I'll prepare overnight and talk about it tomorrow. If you can't take this lying down, why don't you charge in yourself? After he finished speaking, he didn't care about old Master Zhao's expression and decisively left. The night was boundless. The iron-headed ape, who had 4 flags on his back and was dressed as an old martial artist, quickly disappeared into the boundless darkness. Lord Zhao was so angry that he felt dizzy. This kind of untrustworthy and unruly lackey who didn't know how to respect the unruly commoners. Just because he had some martial strength, he became undisciplined and uncontrollable. He really was a rotten wood that couldn't be carved. In the distance, cries and shouts could be heard. It turned out that the servants of his family couldn't find their master and were hurriedly coming back to look for him. Lord Zhao's expression relaxed at first. Then, he fiercely glared in the direction of Sandway Study and hurriedly left. Where there is life, there is hope. In the courtyard of Sandway Study, Sun Lang and Zhao Yunlong leaned against the wall and stuck their heads out. They watched the motley crowd leave in terror. As they watched, they sighed that this batch of commoners was not good enough. The 2 heroes of Tianyuan who had also spied on the main force of the extraterrestrial sky demon enjoyed this farce with great interest. Their faces were full of a sense of accomplishment, and they felt that the red scarves on their chests were even brighter. Sun Lang suddenly said, Hey, why did that guy with the mask and 4 flags on his body run back? We still have a few individual combat techniques that are targeted at warriors that we haven't practiced yet. Zhao Yunlong thought for a while and said seriously, maybe he felt that he couldn't win, so he went to call for reinforcements. Sun Lang laughed and said, Call for reinforcements? Only a monkey would call for reinforcements. Oh, right. He seemed to be wearing a monkey mask. I don't know where he came from. Well, it's better that he called for reinforcements. I was worried that there wouldn't be any fun. He let go of his hands and landed at the foot of the wall. Zhao Yunlong also jumped down after him. The paladin stretched and said, Well, get ready to sleep. Be alert at night. As usual, you're in charge of watching the 3 old women, and I'll watch the other 3 rough men. Let's see what kind of reinforcements the monkey called for tomorrow. It was a quiet night, But Lu Town was sleepless tonight. Almost every household was filled with curses and cries. There were also sounds of water being poured. Many people were desperately washing their bodies. Of course, a young swordsman named Zhou, whose ancestor's female relative had won this year's women's group supporting honor award, received many people's concern. Anyway, Sun Lang was sleeping soundly. His surname was Sun, not Zhou. Young hero Zhou being scolded had nothing to do with him. However, the farmer, Xia Agui, and Kong Zhongwu slept in fear because they were forced to sleep in the same room as Sun Lang. Before he fell asleep, he told the three people seriously that he was killing people in his sleep, so they should be careful and not snore. It was a quiet night. The next morning, many people seemed to still be sleeping. A boatman was rowing his small boat, slowly wandering on the Xinhuan River. He obviously did not participate in the night of peace and freedom last night, because his boat was filled with grass, ash, and manure, but his expression was calm and at ease. This was his agreement, and work with the rich families along the river. Every morning, he would row the boat along the river and carry the grass, ashes, and manure from the back door to the fields outside the town to fertilize the land and nourish the crops. He worked like this today, but for some reason, he suddenly felt that Lu Town was a little strange today. There were not many people, and the pedestrians looked hurried. There was no smile on their faces. In the morning, there was still fog in the town. The distance was shrouded in fog, so he could not see anything. This cold atmosphere added to the strange feeling. Suddenly, he heard a noisy chirping sound coming from the riverside in front of him. It was not human, but a group of animals. Then he knew what it was. A short, dark, and thin object passed through the thick fog and made a sharp cry at him. Those animals had pointed mouths and monkey cheeks. They stood up like humans and looked ferocious. It turned out that they were a group of monkeys with their teeth bared. The leading baboon pointed at him. Then, the group of monkeys let out a sharp roar at the same time. This crazy group of monkeys crawled and jumped. They even jumped into the water and swam towards his dung boat. This kind of scary thing made the boatman panic. Those monkeys grabbed the side of the boat and only cared about swaying. Some of them had already climbed onto the boat wet. The boatman was terrified and immediately threw away the oars. He plunged into the water and swam far away. The people in the water town were all good at swimming, so how could they not swim faster than a group of monkeys? Soon, he surfaced on the other side of the riverside and looked at his boat. He did not expect that the group of monkeys did not have the intention to attack or chase him. Instead, they took over the boat and held the oars. They bared their teeth at him and jumped a few times. Then, they turned the oars and rowed the boat away. For a moment, he forgot about the loss of the boat. His mind was full of one question. These monkeys, why did they take the boat? Chapter 284. Perhaps many years later, the people of Lu Town could still recall the horror of being dominated by the monkeys on this day. Early in the morning, taking advantage of the morning fog of the water town, a large number of ape creatures poured into Lu Town from all directions. Their actions were uniform, organized, disciplined, and had a clear division of labor. Under the command of their respective leaders, they climbed over the walls and ran amok, stirring up waves of fishy wind in the town. Yes, fishy wind. They did not hurt people. They only robbed. They did not rob anything else. Only boss. The monkeys have become demons. They pushed away our dung cart. Bucket, 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 and carrying poles. Damn it. The dung cake that was just put up yesterday. One after another, waves of exclamations and curses came from the people in the town. A few brave men saw that their own place of reincarnation of the 5 grains had been robbed. Without saying a word, they picked up their weapons and fought. Unfortunately, 2 fists could not fight 4 claws, and 1 man could not fight against several monkeys. When these beasts got close to them, they were dragged, hugged, and scratched, and pushed into the latrine. They fell in the sea of monkey people's war with hatred. Thus, a terrifying thing happened. The doors of every house opened, and in the fog, monkeys jumped and jumped, rushing out from every house, carrying tools of all sizes. Several monkeys worked together, pushing a manure cart on the bluestone road. A monkey man stood on the cart, shading his eyes with his hand, looking into the distance. Then he stretched out his hand and pointed, identifying the direction, and let out a shrill cry. There was also a tall chimpanzee who was carrying a pole in one hand and supporting the ground with the other, jumping with both feet and moving forward quickly on the ground. Two stained dung buckets were shaking left and right. Between the splashing of indescribable weird objects, the mysterious and weird smile of the chimpanzee was reflected, vividly showing the tall image of the socialist working monkey people who were conscientiously contributing to socialism. In the streets and alleys, monkeys scurried about, and the stench was overwhelming. Groups of monkeys were chattering, pushing carts and carts, carrying poles and dung buckets, holding dung ladles and shovels in their hands. They shouted, picked, and danced in excitement, rushing out of thousands of households, jumping and running on the roads, roofs, and treetops. They gathered together, forming a vast and mighty troop, converging into a torrent that flowed endlessly, neat and orderly, with a clear purpose. The monkeys carried out the will of the ruler. The enemy was Sanwei Study. Today, Sun Lang woke up early and pulled Kong Zhongwu and the other two out. He let them run laps around the yard in the morning, while he stood under the winter sweet tree to summon the times. By the time they were done with their stretching exercises, Zhao Yunlong had already finished practicing a set of spear techniques. The blade of the spear flickered like a fluttering catkin, ever-changing and unpredictable. The three of them were dazzled, shocked, and admiring. After the three of them finished watching Zhao Yunlong's spear techniques, they turned their gazes back to Sun Lang. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Change your posture and do it again. I don't understand this kung fu. And this movement seems a little, just as their faces revealed this kind of dazed and confused expression. Sun Lang's right arm rotated, the edge of his palm striking the air. With a swoosh, an invisible blade, Qi responded to the sound, plowing out a deep gully beside these people. Their expressions became stiff and stupefied, and they silently increased their running speed. Sun Lang gave them a thumbs up. This move is called the Flaming Blade. There was a foreign monk called Jiumaji who practiced it like this. It's super awesome. When you have time, you can practice it. 3 years to cultivate your marrow like frost. 5 years to release your fighting aura. Like hell, I believe you. When Master Lu, Sima Ping, and sister-in-law Dan finished washing up and came to the courtyard, Sun Lang was already squatting on the winter sweet tree, scolding, "Last night, in order to save you 2 reactionaries, I went through water and fire, offending the people of Lu Town and standing against the majority of the working people. Otherwise, the 2 of you would have been paraded in the streets with tall hats." Lu Shujin snorted, then turned to Sima Ping and said, "There are too many people. Let's go to the market in town and buy some soup and soy milk for breakfast." Sima Ping was just about to agree when Sun Lang's expression changed, and he jumped down from the tree, smiling foolishly. "Why go to town? We're not particular people. Just make some porridge to deal with it." Hearing this, Lu Shujin raised an eyebrow, and the suspicion on her face grew stronger. "What's wrong?" Sun Lang twisted his body and winked. "I want to eat the breakfast you made yourself." Master Lu didn't bite at all, and said coldly, "Tell me the truth." Sun Lang sighed, and looked at the morning sky with his hands behind his back. The faint rays of the morning sun shone through the fog, reflecting a faint radiance. He said calmly, "Don't go. You'll be pressed to death in the latrine pit." Lu Shujin pressed her hand to her forehead. "What did you do last night?" Sun Lang said proudly, "A group of brainless bumpkins, instigated by some reactionary landlords and backward elements, came to criticize me, an excellent communist. Although I could have killed them all with a raise of my hand, this doesn't conform to the basic law, right? Anyone with a little common sense would know that if I wanted to be unparalleled, would these unruly people be able to stop me? Everyone knows that I've already done my best to restrain myself. Dr. Liu rolled his eyes and shouted, "Get to the point." Sun Lang didn't even blink. I chased them away and didn't touch a single hair of theirs. They weren't injured, and no one died. I even let the two masterminds behind this go, and they even hired assassins. Even so, I didn't beat them up. Am I very kind? Lu Shujin said coldly. Where did you hang the assassin? He wasn't. I was waiting for him to gather more accomplices. Where it's possible to let people off, one should be merciful, so I mercifully let him go. Aunt Lu chuckled. Keep pretending, keep pretending. Sun Lang shrugged and pointed at Zhao Yunlong. If you don't believe me, you can ask Chao Patao. Did an assassin with good martial arts try to sneak in last night, but got scared halfway? He had 4 flags on his back, held a long gun, dressed like an opera singer, and even wore a monkey mask. Before Lu Shujin could speak, Xia Agui and Kong Zhongwu's expressions changed at the same time, and they exclaimed, Iron Head Ape. Sun Lang frowned. What kind of name is that? 5 Savages Association. Kong Zhongwu said in a low voice, a mysterious assassin organization with only 5 members. They are all mutants with unique skills, and their whereabouts are unpredictable. They take money to kill people and are very mysterious. I've always wanted to get in touch with them, but after probing in every way, I've returned without success. It sounds like a circus. Sun Lang didn't take it to heart. This old Master Zhao is really willing to spend a lot. I'll entertain him well later. Well, let's put this aside for now. Aunt Lu, take Sima Ping to cook. As for the rest of the children, I saved your lives last night, and it's time for you to repay my kindness. He looked at the few people present, from Kong Zhongwu to Xia He, to the farmer and 4th sister-in-law Dan, and his gaze swept across their faces one by one. I already know a little about your lives. You're all poor people with poor lives, but in a short period of time, you've obtained martial arts that surpass ordinary people and become 1 in a million martial artists. Who gave you such power? Who are they? What is their purpose? You may not know, or you may have guessed, but you didn't tell me. Sun Lang said lightly. But now, your situation seems to be very bad. 2 of your companions are dead, and 1 of them is missing. The threat of life is always around you, and it makes you anxious all day long like a few stray dogs. Sun Lang leaned against the tree and said lightly, I have no intention of judging your character, nor do I have any intention of judging your good and evil. I'm not interested in your suffering in the past, and I don't care about your life or death. But now, we have the basis for cooperation, and this is the premise of the deal. You help me achieve my goal, and I'll help you get rid of the threat of life. Before he finished, Xia Agui said decisively, Do it. Kong Zhongwu was silent, but he was already moved. The farmer's face showed a conflicted expression. 4th sister-in-law Dan subconsciously looked at the farmer, wanting to see his companion's choice. Their respective personalities had been vividly displayed in the performance just now. Sun Lang looked at Xia Agui with a faint smile. Aren't you afraid that I'll go back on my word after crossing the river? Xia Agui smiled at him, his mouth wide open. Of course I'm afraid, but do I have any other choice? I don't know if you'll go back on your word after crossing the river, but I know that if I don't agree, the result will be obvious. Master, you don't look like a soft-hearted person. I'm very good at judging people. When I first saw you, I was so scared that I almost peed my pants. Sun Lang nodded to show his approval. You know what to do. Xia Agui walked directly to Sun Lang's side and looked at the remaining 3 companions with a smile. His traitorous face was really vivid. Sun Lang's eyes fell on the remaining 3 people and smiled. What about the 3 of you? The 3 of them suddenly felt the pressure increase sharply, and their breathing stagnated. They looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Sometimes, when fate came, there was no choice at all. Life or death, the answer was obvious. But the next moment, Sun Lang's expression suddenly changed, and he listened carefully. What's that sound? Zhao Yunlong sniffed. It smells a little. At the same time, there was a faint scream coming from the distance. Soon, Kong Zhongwu and the others also heard the sound. It's the cry of apes. It seems that many monkeys are approaching here. Xiaogui was anxious to show off in front of Sun Lang, and said first, "It's the iron-head ape. That mysterious guy is said to live in the mountains with a group of monkeys as his companions, and has the ability to command apes. These monkeys may have been summoned by him with the intention to attack us." Sun Lang looked disappointed. These are the reinforcements he called for? What can a group of monkeys do? This isn't the rise of the planet of apes. Even if a group of monkeys snatch swords, spears, and halberds, their fighting strength is only 5 points. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a sound of something breaking through the air, and a large mysterious object came whistling from the distance. With a smack, it fell not far from them and spread out on the ground, emitting an amazing smell. Sun Lang said with a subtle expression, "This monkey's sphincter is really amazing. It actually sprayed so far." Then they heard the cries of apes rising and falling one after another. The sharp roar was like the horn of war, blowing the slogan of attack. For a moment, Sun Lang seemed to be in the Warring States period, the Qin army's crossbow array, the lonely city of Zhao State. Strong wind, under the rain of arrows whistling down like flying locusts, the swordsman waited with his sword, defending the city with one sword. He finally understood what the swordsman Wu Ming was thinking in the face of the dense attack. F***CK. He must have thought so at that time. F***CK. Sun Lang did not say anything and ran into the house. Zhao Yunlong was the first to react, and she had been familiar with Sun Lang for a long time. She had followed Sun Lang many times to seek death. When she saw the change in Sun Lang's expression, she knew that it was time to retreat, so she immediately rushed into the house. The remaining 4 people's reaction was half a beat slower, and the sky full of flying arrows had already whistled down. The farmer did not hesitate and pulled Dan Si's sister-in-law back quickly. Xiaogui and Kong Zhongwu were shocked and attacked at the same time. Their skills were similar, and they knew each other very well, so they had a tacit understanding in their hearts. The wind from their palms whistled out and dispersed the attack above. After struggling for a chance to survive, the 2 of them escaped into the house as fast as they could. The flying arrows of the monkeys were like a rainstorm, bombarding San Wei study. Lu Shujin and Sima Ping, who were cooking in the kitchen, did not know what was happening outside. When they saw Sun Lang and Zhao Yunlong rushing in, their faces were still full of shock and confusion. They could not help but ask curiously, "What's wrong?" As soon as they finished speaking, there was a crackling sound from the roof, and they did not know what was continuously hitting the roof. "What the hell? What the hell?" Sun Lang flew into a rage. F***CK? What's going on? How can they be reasonable? How can they follow the rules? How can they let the monkeys do this? This is too much shit. Too much shit. Lu Shujin was still puzzled. What's going on? Sun Lang's face was like a dog's face. Your Sanwei study is going to become a shit-flavored study. Lu Shujin frowned. Suddenly, she smelled a foul stench in the kitchen. She covered her nose and screamed, "What's going on? This shameless thing." Sun Lang flew into a rage. That iron-head ape. F***King animal abuse. F***King not particular. F***King ordering the monkeys to throw shit here. This was too unreasonable, too shameless, too despicable. F***King hell. As a pet, I must let him know what animal protection law is today. As soon as he finished his words, a light sound came from above. A few tiles were lifted up, and a monkey head appeared. The animator casually threw out a palm strike, and the blazing wind from the palm tore the monkey into pieces, causing blood and flesh to splatter everywhere. Rebellion. Rebellion. Today I must kill this dog shit. Chapter 285. This was a cruel world. This was a helpless world. This was a slippery world. Sometimes, no matter how powerful an individual was, he couldn't change some things. For example, he couldn't change the course of history. For example, he couldn't change the size of Sima Ping's chest. For example, he couldn't stop a group of monkeys from attacking with feces and urine. Therefore, even if Sun Lang flew into a rage and cursed the sky and earth, saying that he would let the iron-headed ape live in a cesspool for the rest of his life and become the incarnation of feces, it was useless now. He had to run. What else could he do? The monkeys had already started to break the roof tiles. Some of them were carrying feces ladles and buckets. They smashed a few tiles and were about to launch the legendary gold liquid attack. The monkeys outside were already roaring. Countless monkeys were coming with countless weapons of mass destruction. What else could he do? Fight them? Okay. Could he win? Yes. In the Great War of Heaven's origin, thousands of soldiers and horses were ambushed on all sides. The battlefield was full of killing intent. The strong enemies were brave and fierce. They fought countless bloody battles. Even the extraterritorial sky demon agreed. How could he lose to a group of monkeys? However, the problem was Sun Lang blinked, instantly imagining that magnificent scene. After so many years, the two heavenly Yuan Shao generals of the past once again joined forces, displaying their peerless and invincible sharpness. Spear and sword, blood and fire, spear light like a dragon, sword chi crisscrossing. The comrades of the past stood side by side, smiling in tacit understanding. Their enemies, on the other hand, were neither the ferocious and brutal extraterrestrial devils nor the well-trained elites of the Imperium. Instead, there were a bunch of monkeys who had dashed out of the mountains, monkeys who were carrying dung buckets and ladles. Damn it. Even if he won, it would be a joke. The monkeys' cries grew louder and closer. It seemed that some of the monkeys had already climbed over the courtyard wall and were splashing these grains in all directions. This house was no longer safe and could become a death trap at any time. In a moment, Sun Lang had already made a decision. Run! Zhao Yunlong had been with Sun Lang for a long time, so she didn't feel that there was anything shameful about a strategic retreat. She raised the long spear in her hand, and with an explosive sound, a large hole appeared in the wall near the kitchen. Sun Lang pulled out the fire chelan and took the lead to rush out. He jumped onto the wall, turned around, and raised his hand to fire 6 shots. After 6 consecutive gunshots, the brains of the 6 monkeys exploded and they fell to the ground. However, the death of their companions didn't scare these crazy monkeys. Instead, it angered them even more. A few baboons, who seemed to be the leaders, let out sharp cries. The monkeys responded loudly and took out biochemical throwing weapons from the ground, buckets, and even under their buttocks. They actually divided into 3 groups and threw them in the direction of Sun Lang. One group was connected to another, and there was no gap between them. They formed a dense curtain of feces. There were also large monkeys holding feces ladles and constantly splashing them in this direction. Further away, there were even chimpanzees pulling thick and tough branches. A bucket of feces was fixed at the tip of the branches. With the help of the elasticity of the branches, they directly threw the entire bucket over. Faced with this flying attack that was like a torrential downpour, Sun Lang didn't know whether to block or not. He could only dodge back and forth and shouted, "Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! They actually know how to shoot in 3 directions and use ballistics." If the monkeys of Malhuagua had such means back then, the heavenly courts would be finished. Before he could finish a sentence, Lu Shujin had already rushed up the wall with Sima Ping. Zhao Yunlong held up the rear with his gun. When he saw Sun Lang dodging left and right, he directly shouted, "There's no need to care so much. Just kill. Even if all the monkeys in Suizhou are here, we can still kill them until they become extinct. If you find it disgusting, I'll do it." Sun Lang said angrily, "No, no. If I use force to flatten them, it means that I've completely lost. This is a battle with my grandfather's reputation on the line. None of you are allowed to interfere." Lu Shujin looked at the Sanwei study that had turned into a paradise for monkeys and feces. The confusion and collapse in her heart was indescribable. She wished she could catch all the monkeys below and eat their brains for a month. When she heard Sun Lang still say such nonsense at such a time, she couldn't help but say angrily, "What reputation? Why are you being so stubborn? Hurry up and chop these monkeys and that iron-headed ape into pieces." "What does an old woman like you know?" Sun Lang shouted. "Although I don't know why, I just feel that if I use force to directly kill them all, I'll lose to some bastard who's afraid of ghosts." "Who is that?" While the two were talking, the monkeys had already noticed the three women standing on the wall. Then, they included them in their attack radius. Women basically all loved cleanliness. When they saw the monkeys flying over, even the brave Zhao Yunlong and the calm Lu Shujin both shivered and immediately jumped down the wall. There was also a flying troop of monkeys on standby. Zhao Yunlong didn't say anything and stabbed his long spear into the ground. Then, he used his strength to lift the ground. Several huge bluestone slabs were broken into dozens of small pieces and flew out, sweeping dozens of monkeys along the way into pieces. Lu Shujin's heart was like a wheel. She stomped her feet and angrily said, "You stay here and play with these monkeys throwing feces. I'm going to the 100-her garden first." "Okay," Sun Lang shouted. "Chow Patao, you go with Aunt Lu and wait for me." "Oh," Zhao Yunlong loudly agreed. Without saying anything, he swung the long spear in his hand and rushed in the direction of the 100-her garden. Along the way, the monkeys that tried to stop him were all smashed into pieces and turned into minced meat. Sun Lang watched the three of them rush out of the encirclement and advance in the direction of the 100-her garden. The monkeys didn't chase after them. He didn't know if it was because they were afraid of Zhao Yunlong's strength or because their target wasn't them, but it didn't matter. Sun Lang leapt up and avoided the monkeys' attacks. He flew to a big tree and shouted angrily, "Ironhead ape, get out here. Motherf asterisk Kerr, you're too much shit. Do you still care about the morals of Jianghu? Are you still human? Motherf asterisk Kerr, shameless. 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 Do you hear me? Motherf asterisk Kerr. Motherf asterisk Kerr. Motherf asterisk Kerr." There was no reply, no response. There was only the monkeys' angry cries and continuous attacks. Sun Lang beat his chest and stomped his feet. "Motherf asterisk Kerr. I'm so angry, so angry, so angry." Even an antisocial person like me didn't use this kind of method to take revenge on society. You son of a bitch didn't learn good things and actually threw shit. He pointed to the sky and drew pictures, cursing incessantly. "Only bastards, sluts, and perverts play with shit. Supplement billion. Supplement billion. Come out. Come out. You have the ability to throw shit, but you don't have the ability to come out." The monkeys rushed forward. He casually threw out the fire chilin and fired 6 consecutive shots. Another 6 heads exploded. "Do you see this? As a druid, you actually let your summoned beasts do this kind of shady business. Look at these monkeys. They should have had a flower-like childhood, but you use them to pick up shit and throw it away. They died so sullenly. Look at this monkey. How tall? How strong? Of all things to do, you usually F***CK, female monkeys, cook wine. What a wonderful monkey life." He reloaded his gun and fired again, blowing up the baboon. "You're not coming out? Not coming out." Sun Lang's face revealed a sinister smile. "Who hired you? Zhao Si or He Chunlai. If you don't come out, I'll go find them. If they hide, I'll drown their families one by one in a cesspool. I'm not afraid that they won't come out. If your employer dies, where are you going to get the money?" He jumped down and pretended to leave. There was no doubt that although this flying monkey formation had boundless power and could make powerful martial artists feel invincible, it had a fatal flaw. Monkeys were monkeys in the end. Their intelligence and strength were limited. They couldn't stop an enemy who wanted to leave. Therefore, at this moment, a cold snort was heard. "I thought you were some upright and honest hero. I didn't expect you to be a shameless scoundrel with a mouth full of vulgar words." Sun Lang raised his eyes and looked over. He saw a man wearing an archer's uniform standing by the river. There were 4 flags on his back. He held a spear in his hand and wore an ape mask. His long beard fluttered in the wind. He was looking at him coldly. Judging from his attire, he was the iron-headed ape, the instigator of this evil operation. Following its appearance, the group of monkeys began to move. Monkeys of different sizes, species, and sizes were clamoring, but their movements were orderly. With the iron-head ape as the center, they adjusted their formation, faintly surrounding and protecting it in the center. He looked at Sun Lang and said indifferently, "You, shut up." Sun Lang said angrily, "How show you, old man? Old bastard. Your mother exploded. Your father flew." The iron-head ape's expression froze. Then he sneered, "Boring. Is this your way of expressing your anger? I've seen the beasts of the mountains. After losing a fight with their own kind or competitors, they will also roar and use their bodies to hit trees. Or perhaps they will roll around on the ground and roar. This can't help them recover from their injuries, nor can it increase their chances of winning the next battle. It's completely meaningless." He looked at Sun Lang and shook his head. "You're also a vulgar creature. Different from the beasts. F*CK your mother. F*CK your mother. Do you hear me? F*CK your mother. F*CK your mother." Was there something wrong with this person's head? The iron-head ape looked at the person who was stomping his feet and cursing. Although he didn't show it on the surface, his mind was racing. He was secretly pondering, this person must die. This was a business promise, and the Five Savages Society would never go back on their word. However, his lightness skill was excellent, and the firearms in his hands were powerful. There was a certain risk in confronting him directly. Therefore, he could only use his wits and not force. Fortunately, he seemed to have something wrong with his head. Moreover, he was currently in a huge rage. It could be said that he had already lost his reason. It was really ridiculous. This person was still throwing feces for fun last night and bullying the civilians. Now that he had received his retribution, he was so furious that he had even lost his reason. Human nature was despicable. They often did what they didn't want to do to others. It was really pitiful, hateful, and lamentable. However, he had lost his reason. This was a good thing, wasn't it? The iron-head ape's eyes flickered as he looked at a corner behind Sun Lang. A vigorous figure was moving swiftly and lightly through the shadows, fog, and houses. It was like a nimble and astute predator patiently approaching its prey. The other member of the Five Savages Society, Tiger Rakshasa, was wearing a flexible light armor made from the fur of tigers, leopards, lions, and lions. On his head was a protective helmet made from a tiger's head. His four limbs were on the ground, and his posture was vigorous and agile. From a distance, he looked just like a lifelike tiger beast. The gauntlets on his hands were covered with iron hooks and claws. They were incomparably sharp. He was skilled, like a lion or a tiger. In the wilderness, he was the strongest predator and hunter. He was also the partner of the iron-head ape this time. Double insurance, one in the light and one in the dark. This was the rule of the Five Savages Society. Looking at Tiger Rakshasa, closing in on young hero Zhou, looking at young hero Zhou, who was still stomping his feet and cursing, completely unaware that his death was near, the iron-head ape's face revealed a deep smile. Since Tiger Rakshasa has already decided to launch a sneak attack, then I'll talk to him and attract his attention. I'll provoke his anger and make him lose his reason, lose his guard, and lose his vigilance. Then Tiger Rakshasa will be able to kill him in one strike. Thinking of this, he said indifferently, "What? Are you angry? Didn't you have fun throwing shit around last night? You've tasted the same feeling, right? Throw your F***king ass." Sun Lang said furiously. "That's F***king canned herring. Do you know what canned herring is? That's food. Something that can be eaten. You don't F***king believe me? It doesn't matter. In a while, I'll let you carefully distinguish the difference between shit and canned herring. You'll write an 800-word tasting comment for me." "Bullshit," the iron-head ape said disdainfully. In the wilderness, the strong are the king. In this world, the law of beasts is the law. The strong are respected, and the weak are slaves. This has always been the way of the world. As long as you're stronger than me, as long as you can defeat me, I'll do whatever you want. The question is, do you have the ability? He stretched out his hand and hooked his finger at Sun Lang, provoking him. Shit thrower, come over here. You're the King shit thrower. Sun Lang looked at the malicious monkeys and said angrily, chase your monkeys to the side. We'll fight one-on-one and decide life and death. Nonsense again. At this moment, Tiger Rakshasa was getting closer and closer to the target. This meant that the time to make a move was gradually ripe. The iron-head ape's heart raced as he continued to distract the target with his words. This group of monkeys was gathered by my ability. It's also a part of my strength. If you have the ability, you can also call for help. This is a life and death battle. Who would fight you one-on-one? Shameless. Shameless. The other party stomped his feet. F*CKU, 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 F*CKU. Now was the time. A glint flashed in the iron-head ape's eyes. He saw that Tiger Rakshasa had already occupied an excellent position. He had a premonition that this sworn brother of his would attack from here. Sure enough, in the next moment, Tiger Rakshasa's entire body tensed up like a bow that was drawn to a full moon. A thunderous explosive force was released as it turned into an afterimage. Its sharp claws flashed as it pounced at the unprepared opponent. Success. A mocking smile appeared on the iron-head ape's face. Stupid guy. Even if you were a wild beast in the mountains, you still had to rely on wisdom, patience, and willpower to defeat your opponent. If you only relied on your sharp claws and teeth, you would always die the fastest. Who would fight you one-on-one? He seemed to have already seen the tragic fate of the opponent being torn in half by Tiger Rakshasa. After all, Tiger Rakshasa's timing was too perfect, and its attack was so fierce. How could the opponent dodge it? However, he dodged it. A hint of astonishment flashed in his eyes. The target casually dodged to the side. It was not fast at all. Its footwork was ordinary and mediocre, as if it was just casually standing to the side. However, it was this ordinary and unremarkable movement that perfectly dodged Tiger Rakshasa's near-perfect sneak attack. Was this the coincidence? Soon, he knew that it was not a coincidence. Because he saw that after the opponent dodged the attack, he raised his hands and casually placed them on Tiger Rakshasa's body. His left hand was on his shoulder, and his right hand was on his head. Blood splattered. The iron-head ape's pupils suddenly shrank. A brief moment of confusion and bewilderment flashed in his eyes. He had already seen what had happened, but his brain had not yet digested this information. He saw that the savagery and pleasure in Tiger Rakshasa's eyes had not yet faded. He saw that the shock and horror on Tiger Rakshasa's face had not yet bloomed. Everything froze at that moment. This stupid, vulgar, and easily angered human twisted his body and dodged Tiger Rakshasa's earth-shattering attack. Then, he raised his hand and pressed down on Tiger Rakshasa's incomparably fast body. His left hand was on his shoulder, and his right hand was on his head. He casually moved his hand. Blood splattered malevolently. The shock and horror that had not yet completely appeared froze on Tiger Rakshasa's face. Then, his head left his body, along with his spine that was stained with blood and flesh. It was forcibly pulled out from his body by that human. No matter if it was the painstakingly made, tough light armor or the body of a martial artist that had been tempered thousands of times, everything was like paper. It was easily torn apart by the person in front of him, as if he was casually breaking a bamboo pole. He saw the two halves of Tiger Rakshasa's body being casually thrown to the side, as if throwing away trash. He saw the human clap his hands, as if he had done something insignificant. He saw the human raise his head and raise his right hand's middle finger towards him. Then, he heard familiar words. Fuck your mother. Fuck your mother. Fuck your mother. Fuck your mother. Did you hear that? I said fuck your mother. In that instant, his brain recovered the ability to think. The quiet world once again became noisy. He felt a serene chill rush from the bottom of his feet to his head. Then, sweat poured out like water, his two legs trembling. The iron-head ape of the Five Savages Association instantly let out a terrified shout, turning his head to run. Run? Where the fuck are you running to? It was still the original laughable tone, still the original laughable clamor. But hearing it now, it was so terrifying that it made one tremble with fear. You're going against the heavens. You son of a bitch. You dare to throw shit on my head? You stop right there with me. One more step, and I'll let you eat a pile of shit. Fuck a male monkey. Chapter 286. There was once a precious opportunity in front of the iron-head ape, but he didn't cherish it. When he lost it, it was too late for regrets. If he could do it all over again, last night he would have directly smashed Fourth Master Zhao's head with a palm, then run away, far away from this damned Lu Xun, far away from this damned Zhou Sun. But now, the big mistake had been made, and fate had played a big joke on him. Damn it, where did such a good fighter come from? Why didn't he directly chop Zhao Si to death? Why didn't he directly kill all the townspeople last night? He was such a powerful expert. Why did he play the trick of throwing shit, pretending to be weak, and then luring others to come and find trouble? What was the point of this? The iron-head ape, who was panicking and terrified, made the biggest mistake. He mistakenly thought that Sun Lang had the intention to kill him, so he chose to run away as fast as possible, which caused him to break away from the protection of the monkeys. So he was naturally caught up by Sun Lang very quickly. The brave iron-head ape would rather die than submit, and he would never surrender. He wanted to make a last stand, but unfortunately, his martial arts were too shallow and his skills were too crude. He was defeated by the crazy enemy by half a move. His long spear was snatched away by the enemy, and he was kicked to the ground. He didn't even have the slightest room to resist. Run again. Sun Lang threw the mixed iron spear to the side, bent down, and pulled out the flags behind the iron-head ape one by one. Who asked you to carry so many flags on your back? Who asked you to put them up randomly? Who asked you to learn bad things? Who asked you to throw shit everywhere? Are you stupid? The iron-head ape struggled and angrily said, "A warrior can be killed, but not humiliated. Do it." Sun Lang rolled his eyes. Why can others be killed and humiliated, but you can't be humiliated? Also, look at your pointy mouth and monkey cheeks, and you're wearing an animal mask. Wearing this costume with 4 flags, you're simply a masquerade pervert who likes to cosplay. Are you worthy of being a warrior? Don't you know that disgusting otakus have no human rights? He pulled out the last flag and knocked it on the iron-headed ape's head. Iron-headed ape? Don't panic. I'll push you into the dung bucket later and turn you into an iron-headed ape. The iron-head ape was shocked and angry. He struggled with all his might. You dare? There aren't many things in this world that I don't dare to do. Sun Lang laughed coldly. Don't panic. Let me tell you, you've had a great time today, brother. Don't you know how to command the monkeys to throw shit? I'll get you 2 caddies of aphrodisiac, mix it in your feces, and pour into your mouth. Then, I'll pick a few big monkeys with strong anus and lock you all in a small dark room. I'll let you throw feces, Although the iron-headed ape boasted that he had indulged himself in the mountains and forests and had seen through the world of mortals and was no longer afraid of death, when he heard this, he still felt a strong tremor from his soul. How could there be such an expert in this world who didn't respect himself? He made up his mind and wanted to bite his tongue to commit suicide. However, the opponent's martial arts were so high that it was unimaginable. He could see through the small details and instantly perceive the iron-headed ape's thoughts. The iron-headed ape screamed, and his internal strength scattered. He was dizzy and his whole body was sore and weak. He couldn't even lift a finger. The ranger laughed coldly. Damn it, you still want to commit suicide? Wait for your shit. The iron-headed ape finally gave up. He closed his eyes and shouted, Spare me, I surrender. Sun Lang hit him on the head with the stick. You still dare to throw shit? This half-baked druid ape couldn't understand this black language. He just shouted, I'm still useful. I'm willing to be a pawn. It's not shameful to rely on the strong. I just want to beg for my life. I'm very useful. Sun Lang sneered and said, That was your companion just now, right? Don't you want to take revenge? No. The iron-headed ape said directly. When he attacked, he was full of killing intent. He used all his strength and didn't hold back. He wanted to kill you. You're stronger than him. It's natural for you to take his life. No one can find fault with it. It's reasonable and convincing. Sun Lang threw the flag aside and pondered for a moment. He glanced at the iron-headed ape who was obediently lying on the ground and didn't dare to get up. He then looked at the group of monkeys not far away who were anxious but didn't dare to come forward. A strange light gradually appeared in his eyes. Well, you seem to be really useful. Hearing this, the iron-headed ape breathed a sigh of relief. A strange feeling rose in his heart. He felt that something important in his heart began to disappear. He seemed to foresee something that would make him feel complicated in the future. But the most important thing was that he had to try his best to survive, wasn't it? His heart was filled with sorrow and joy. He was in a mess as he waited for Sun Lang's final judgment. The paladin thought for a moment and said awkwardly, "But you made my house stinky. You know, this is my wife's property. She's very angry and wants to eat your flesh," the iron-headed ape shouted. "I'll compensate. I'll rebuild. I'll clean it up. I'll restore it to what it used to be. I'll definitely satisfy the young mistress." Sun Lang was very pleased with the title of young mistress. He nodded with satisfaction and thought for a moment. "Oh, and who hired you to kill me this time?" The iron-headed ape was very sensible. He didn't talk about professional ethics and the like. He directly said, "It's Zhao Si." "Good," Sun Lang said gently. "Go and get a certificate of allegiance." Hearing this, the iron-headed ape stood up and clenched his fists. At this time, he had a very strong opinion of Zhao Si. If this old dog didn't provoke this murderous star in front of him, would he have fallen into such a situation today? He smiled nastily and said, "Don't worry, don't worry. If he dies comfortably, Master will come and take my head. Don't be so violent. It's not good to fight and kill." Sun Lang pointed to the monkeys behind him and said kindly, "It just so happens that your monkeys have ready-made furniture here. Don't waste it. Treat Master Zhao Si the same way you threw the excrement just now." "All right, don't forget, Master He." "Understood." The iron-headed ape revealed a Sunran sneer. "This King, Zhao Si, actually caused me to fall into such a situation. Since that's the case, I'll let him have a taste of this excrement." He imagined Master Zhao Si's dirty, furious, and battered appearance. He couldn't help but reveal a mysterious smile. Obviously, some very Moses Roy's changes were happening to this former assassin. Sun Lang was very satisfied. He patted the iron-headed ape's shoulder and said gently, "You're really sensible. You've changed sides and taken off your armor. You're still the mad ape. You're happy as a monkey. That's also beautiful." The iron-headed ape forced a smile. Although he had temporarily escaped with his life, what happened today was too exciting. For a moment, he couldn't completely accept it. He adjusted his mood and said, "Master, I'll go and take care of Zhao Si. Do you want to come and observe and give me some pointers?" Roar, roar, roar. After Sun Lang finished speaking, his expression suddenly changed. He touched his head and said, "I always feel like I've forgotten something." "Well, right. I'm really ashamed." He revealed a blushing smile and turned back to look in the direction of Sanwei's study. Previously, when the southern monkeys invaded and thousands of flying insects flew, he protected Annie Lu and the others and rushed out. However, he forgot about Xia Ague and the others. He vaguely remembered that they seemed to have hidden in the house with the seller. The iron-headed ape saw his strange expression and asked, "Is there anything wrong?" "Oh, nothing," Sun Lang said with a calm expression. There were a few subordinates in the house before. Their martial arts were too poor and they couldn't rush out. When the attack happened, I covered them and hid in the cellar in the house. I told them to wait here for me to defeat the enemy. Now that we've turned enemies into friends, I should go and get them out. The iron-headed ape was stunned for a moment and said emotionally, "You really sympathize with your subordinates." Sun Lang said proudly, "Of course. Back then, I used to be the general of the volunteer army, the Iron Guard of the Brotherhood, the dean of the academy, and the boss of the Nuclear City Mafia. I was known as the King of Boston, but I still took the route of being close to the people. I paid attention to everything, no matter how big or small. I did it by myself, and King stupid Bethesda. I was also like this when I was a dragon descendant. But this is not the main point of the problem. He patted the iron-headed ape's shoulder hard and said, "The main point is, follow me and you'll have meat to eat." The iron-headed ape was stunned by these domineering words. He looked at Sun Lang, and his eyes flashed with excitement. He began to feel that working for this person in front of him did not seem to be a bad thing. Although he looked very strange, his personality was very strange, and his hobbies were very amazing. At least he was very powerful and very loyal, right? Thinking of this, his mood finally calmed down. He took the initiative and said, "Then I'll go with you first to meet these colleagues." Sun Lang naturally had no reason to refuse. Before leaving, the iron-headed ape asked for Sun Lang's opinion and ordered a few monkeys to find a place to bury the broken body of Tiger Luocha. It could be considered as the last bit of loyalty. The two quickly returned to the Sandway study. This quiet and elegant small courtyard had become unbearable to look at. Sun Lang glanced at the ashamed, iron-headed ape from the corner of his eyes. He thought that after this matter was over, this guy would be finished. Aunt Lu would definitely kill him, together with Kong Zhongwu. Should I stop her when the time comes? Kong Zhongwu, that kind of guy, was always scheming and did not understand the current situation. If he died, then so be it. However, this iron-headed ape's ability to command the monkeys was very useful. Thinking of this, he pushed open the door of the room where Xia Ague and the others were hiding. The monkeys did not seem to have time to attack this place. The room was still clean. He shouted in the direction of the cellar. "Hey, are you guys having a 4P inside? This is not very good." Although the undead's play is very interesting, by the way, I think Hidemat Sushima's play is quite good. There was no response. Sun Lang frowned, took a few steps forward, and listened carefully. His expression changed. There was no one inside. Did they leave on their own and run to the herb garden? Chapter 287. Sun Lang frowned and observed the layout of the room. He then looked at the lock of the cellar and pulled it up. As he entered the cellar, a rotten and oppressive smell suddenly hit him in the face. There were no signs of fighting, no signs of forced entry, and the windows and walls were not damaged. There was not even a trace of disorder. This showed that the four people had calmly left the room and were not captured by strong enemies or fled in panic. However, the problem is, Sun Lang's eyes flashed a trace of sharpness. Where did they go? Not long ago, after discovering that Kong Zhongwu and the others did not stay in the Sandway study, Sun Lang thought that they had gone to the herb garden. He did not expect that when he went to the herb garden to ask, he found that they had never come. This problem was serious. Lu Shujin covered her mouth and nose, walked into the room, and said in a muffled voice, "How is it?" Sun Lang shook his head. "It's very strange. It doesn't seem like they were captured." Auntie Lu snorted. "So they took advantage of this opportunity to escape?" The ranger pondered for a moment and shook his head again. "The farmer is dull and pedantic. The fourth sister-in-law has no opinions. Kong Zhongwu is always scheming, and Xia Ague is smart and cautious. These four people have different personalities. How could they come to a consensus and leave so decisively? Xia Ague is not an idiot. How could he dare to run away like this?" Miracle Dr. Lu's temper was not very good now. It was as if she was on her period, and her words were full of thorns. After all, not long ago, she encountered the biggest and most despairing event in the history of Lu Town. Not only that, the one who suffered was her Sandway study. At this moment, it was obviously in a state of chaos. She said angrily, "Since I saw you again, nothing good has happened." Sun Lang rolled his eyes. "You really have no conscience. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't even know about your split personality. Maybe one day you would be turned into a sow by your bitch personality." Lu Shujin snorted and did not speak anymore. The ranger paced a few steps in the room and frowned. These four people have completely different personalities and thought patterns. Why did they come to a consensus and leave without permission? Obviously, there's only one possibility. His eyes were burning as he said resolutely, "They must have been let out or called out by someone. That person either has an identity that all four of them are convinced of, or has a power that the four of them can't resist." Lu Shujin frowned. "Who is that?" Sun Lang shook his head. "I don't know. The target range is too wide. We don't have the necessary understanding of our enemy, so we can't accurately analyze and lock onto them. The clues left at the scene are too limited," he smiled. "However, sometimes no clue is the biggest clue." At that time, all of you retreated to the herb garden, and I went to fight the enemy. At that time, the mysterious person took advantage of the situation and took away the four people who were hiding in the cellar. The timing was very precise, as if it was premeditated. His eyes flickered as if he thought of something. He revealed a cold smile and turned to leave the room. Out of the protection of the newly surrendered Iron-Head Ape, Sun Lang did not tell Lu Shujin that he had subdued such an elite special combat druid. Instead, he sent him aside to wait for orders. If Aunt Lu knew about this, it was hard to guarantee that she would not use a knife to carve the word shit on the forehead of the Iron-Head Ape. Of course, out of love for this newly surrendered comrade, Sun Lang also arranged for Zhao Yunlong to protect him. In any case, Comrade Chow Patao held a steel spear in her hand and stared at the head of the Iron-Head Ape without moving. As a rare gunner with S-Luck, she felt that she needed to teach this younger generation with E-Luck some life principles. When the Iron-Head Ape was trembling with fear and did not dare to sweat, Sun Lang finally appeared. The Iron-Head Ape felt as if he had been pardoned. After all, Zhao Yunlong also had a lingering fear from the terrifying scene of Xiang Shan becoming the monkey tyrant. How could he be kind to this ape druid? If he was not useful to Sun Lang, General Zhao would have already stabbed him to death with his spear. Although he could not kill him now, he could still teach him a little lesson. Sun Lang looked at the Iron-Head Ape and already knew what had happened. He smiled and waved at Zhao Yunlong. Chow Patao glared at the Iron-Head Ape, then put away her spear and left. "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid," Sun Lang said gently. "Chow Patao is good in every way, but she doesn't like animals. Speaking of which, it's strange. Regardless of whether it's a man or a woman, as long as they're my friends, old Zhao is always polite to them. But if I want to raise a cat or a dog, within 3 days, she'll chase me away." He patted the Iron-Head Ape's shoulder. "So, it's normal. The Iron-Head Ape showed a complicated look. There seemed to be something wrong with this explanation. Well, let's make a long story short." Sun Lang looked behind him. Zhao Yunlong had already entered the Samway study and met up with Lu Shujin. He turned back and looked at the former member of the Five Savages Society. "Tell me about your Five Savages Society first." The Iron-Head Ape asked. "What does Master want to hear?" Sun Lang touched his chin. "Well, the composition of the members. There are a total of 5 of us, forming a loose organization. We don't usually meet and even know little about each other. We only contact each other when we accept tasks and collect money." The ranger frowned. "Then how did you establish it?" The Iron-Head Ape smiled bitterly. "Our leader gathered us together. He found us and defeated us one by one. At the cost of not killing us, he asked us to join him, listen to his orders, and work for him. Who is he? I don't know. I really don't know." The Iron-Head Ape said blankly. "In the Five Savages Society, the Iron-Head Ape is me. The Tiger Rakshasa has been killed by Master, and there are 2 others. One is the Snake Woman, and the other is the Wolf Woman. Although I'm not familiar with them, I have seen them once and know their abilities and appearance. But I know nothing about our mysterious leader. No one knows why he established the Five Savages Society, who he is, and what he wants to do." Sun Lang's expression changed. "Snake Woman? Wolf Woman? One is a beautiful demonic woman who has the ability to control snakes and pythons." "Wait!" Sun Lang exclaimed in shock. "Monstrous python?" The Iron-Head Ape blinked. "Ah? She can control pythons as she pleases. Is there a problem?" I hate people without a sense of humor the most. Sun Lang waved his hand, feeling dispirited. What about the wolf woman? A crazy woman as fierce as a wolf, cruel and crazy, bloodthirsty and tyrannical. The iron-head ape said faintly, like a desperate and crazy wolf. She wants to drag everything she sees into hell. Oh, Moses Roy. Sun Lang nodded. What a familiar character. Good, good. He thought for a moment and let out a long breath. Another piece of the puzzle has been connected. Let's go. We'll go visit the village sage, Zhao Si, who is in deep shit. Chapter 288. Fourth Master Zhao, as the landlord of the village, naturally had property in the town. Sun Lang didn't know the exact location, but fortunately, the iron-headed ape had rebelled. Since it had made a deal with Fourth Master Zhao before, it didn't have any psychological burden as it gave out the location of Fourth Master Zhao and acted as a guide. Sir, this way. As Sun Lang walked, he complained, Sai, you have one bad thing, and that is that you are too narrow-minded. This Fourth Master Zhao, although he's not a good person, although he is a member of the 5 black categories, although he would have been drowned in a pig cage during the land reform, we are now in an evil, feudal society, right? He cupped his hands towards the imperial capital. The current emperor wants to implement virtuous governance. In other words, a local rich man like Fourth Master Zhao is also the master of the country. How can you send your monkey group to pour feces and urine on his house? He will definitely be very angry. Once he is angry, he will definitely not cooperate with us. If he doesn't cooperate with us, how can we get important clues from his mouth? The iron-headed ape nodded submissively at first. It was a little confused about Sun Lang's meaning, so it probed. If he doesn't say anything, we will pour feces on him again. Yes, it makes sense. Sun Lang nodded and said solemnly, as expected of the mad monkey king, the leader of the monkey group, you are really domineering. Come, say I am the monkey group. Let me hear it. This new master was good in every way, but he liked to say things that people didn't know how to respond to. Now, the fog had gradually dissipated and the sun was gradually rising, but Lu Town was still very quiet and deserted. This was because a group of monkeys entered the town early in the morning. A group of psychic monkeys bearing their fangs and brandishing their claws robbed the toilets of every family. No one knew what they were going to do, so everyone was scared witless. This strange incident was a combination of ghosts, monsters, filth, and fairy tales. It was incomparably strange. It was estimated that in a few days, it would become a new urban legend. Under such circumstances, everyone was naturally scared to the point of hiding at home, not daring to go out. Thus, it gave some people the opportunity to commit crimes. As Sun Lang walked, he imparted his life experience to his new follower. Kerrigan has the Zergs, and they can beat the humans. Even the celestial elves have to be wary of them. Although your Zergs are a little shabby, they're still very powerful. You need to be more flexible and use more tactics. He gestured with his hands, spittle flying. For example, would you plan to interrogate that Fourth Master Zhao later? Beat him? That's too boring. Threaten him with his family? That's too cruel. It's against the rules. Pour feces on him. The ranger clenched his fists tightly and waved them in front of the iron-headed ape. He said resolutely, so, don't kill, don't hurt, don't explode. If he doesn't cooperate, find the monkeys and chimpanzees to rape him. There's no man in this world that a chimpanzee can't handle. If it doesn't work, let it ***** it again. Is he joking? He must be joking. I shouldn't believe this is true. There's no such cruel person in this world. Sun Lang's interrogation was still going on in the classroom. The iron-headed ape shivered a few times as it listened. By the time the topic had turned to the terrifying technique of using the 8 chimpanzees' position distribution map, Fourth Master Zhao's home was finally in sight. The iron-head ape felt as if he had been pardoned. In this short period of time, he felt as if his soul had been washed by mud. It was too scary. How could there be such a person in this world? But in the next moment, his expression changed. Fourth Master Zhao's home didn't seem to be occupied by the evil of this world. The monkeys didn't attack. Instead, they occupied the surrounding trees and screamed uneasily. A large monkey with a scar on its face jumped over on all fours, chirping and gesturing with its hands. The iron-head ape looked at it for a moment, and its expression changed. Sun Lang frowned, quickly walked forward, and kicked open the unlatched door. The smell of blood, a strong smell of blood, assaulted his senses. The iron-head ape followed. When he saw the scene in front of him, he couldn't help but retch. He finally understood why the monkeys felt uneasy and didn't dare to carry out his orders. There were no living people here. Innards. A large amount of innards hung on the trees in the courtyard, between the beams, on the door, and everywhere. They were arranged in all kinds of shapes, like decorations decorated with lanterns and colored banners. Corpses had large holes dug out of their stomachs. Their faces were pale. Because their innards were hollowed out, it was easier for a hollow body to maintain balance and stand upright. All the corpses were either sitting or standing, just like when they were alive. Maids carried hot water, servants carried brooms, women stood guard by the door, and officials sat high up in the Ming Hall. Decorated with lanterns and colored banners, it was red and fiery. Husband and wife bowed to each other, raising the table and eyebrows. This seemed to be the scene of a woman getting married. And all the corpses' faces were pale, empty, and lifeless. Their heads were all twisted at strange angles. Even those whose backs were facing the door turned their heads. Their faces were all facing the direction of the door. The corners of their mouths were strangely raised, revealing a twisted and cruel smile. Although the iron-head ape was also a top figure, he had never seen such a strange and terrifying scene that made one's scalp tingle. Those strange, smiling faces, those empty gazes, everything made him feel a chill in his heart, and his stomach kept twitching. How creative! How big of a grudge do they have? Sun Lang's expression didn't change. He walked straight past the corpses that had died with their eyes open and walked towards the direction of the hall. His expression was calm, and he looked around at ease. The iron-head ape took a few deep breaths before calming down his feelings, and besides feeling admiration in his heart as he gazed at Sun Lang's swaggering figure, he was extremely curious. Is it because he's bold, or is he simply a madman? Sun Lang didn't care what the iron-head ape was thinking. He stepped over the threshold, walked into the hall, and then shrugged his shoulders. Sure enough, the head of the family, Fourth Master Zhao, was sitting high up in the Ming Hall. He stroked his beard and smiled. His smile was also strange, and his face was also pale. And in front of him, there was a person kneeling. His body was covered with internal organs. 2 large intestines were intertwined in front of his chest, and a lung was hanging in the middle. This appearance made him look like a bridegroom. Marriage. This is the wedding ceremony. Sun Lang looked at the side of the bridegroom. Where's the bride? Yes, there were busy maids and servants, guests and women watching the ceremony. A bridegroom wearing red with flowers, and old Master Zhao being bowed to by the newlyweds. In this bloody and cruel wedding scene, the only thing missing was the bride. No, maybe there's still something missing. Sun Lang walked to the front of Fourth Master Zhao's corpse. Facing the dead man's pale and strange smile, he reached out his hand as if nothing had happened, pressed down on the man's shoulder, and pulled it back. This person's guts had truly reached the point of insanity. Fourth Master Zhao's body lost the strength to support itself and directly fell to the ground, making a dull sound. His back was empty. His spine had disappeared without a trace. It was a deep hole like a single dark eye. The iron-head ape also walked in at this time. Seeing the back of Fourth Master Zhao's body, a shocked expression appeared on his face. This is Sun Lang said indifferently. The Fourth Master Zhao who pretended to be polite to me in Wei Zhuang. The Fourth Master Zhao who hired you. Is it real or fake? Who is it? A drop of sweat dripped down the iron-head ape's face. It seemed to have thought of something, and a horrified expression appeared on his face. He took 2 steps back, looked at the kneeling bridegroom, and shivered. Then he squatted down, pushed away the blood-colored organs on the bridegroom's body, and grabbed the bridegroom's collar, wanting to see if the spine was still there. The skin on the back of the neck was intact. The iron-head ape let out an imperceptible sigh of relief. However, he suddenly heard a strange sound. Crack! A crisp sound came from the neck of the groomsman who was kneeling on the ground. Then his head suddenly turned 180 degrees. His eyes were empty, his face was pale, and he had a strange smile on his face. His face was filled with death and darkness. He and the old ape looked at each other and stared at the groomsman without moving. This happened in the blink of an eye. After all, the human heart was made of flesh and blood. No matter how high one's martial arts was, or how strong one's temperament was, there would still be times when one was agitated and lost. The iron-head ape suddenly encountered this kind of unforeseen event, and a cold chill surged from his heart. His limbs and bones became incomparably numb, and he couldn't move. He could only look on helplessly as the head in front of him opened its bloody mouth and bit towards his neck. At this critical moment, the iron-head ape felt a pain in his chest, and then he flew out like a cloud, falling into the courtyard. He opened his eyes and found that the bridegroom had already fallen to the ground. Sun Lang raised his right foot, and with a light step, the bridegroom's head had already exploded like a watermelon. Ashamed, he cried out in his heart, and a feeling of gratitude grew in his heart. However, this matter wasn't over yet. The iron-head ape that had fallen in the courtyard suddenly found that the corpses in the courtyard had all come to life. The faces that were facing the direction of the door instantly turned, and all of them were facing him. Their faces were pale, and their eyes were empty. That strange and terrifying smile didn't decrease in the slightest. And the dead bodies came to life again. Their heads kept shaking, and with a twisted and crazy smile, they rushed toward the iron-head ape. The iron-head ape flipped over, and with a shake of the long spear on his back, he stabbed it into the chest of a corpse, piercing through it, and threw it far away. Then, with a swing of the spear, he pierced the throat of another corpse and sent him flying. However, after these two corpses fell to the ground, they stood up again shakily. With a boom, the head of a corpse suddenly exploded, and fragments flew everywhere. The fire chilins circled a few times in Sun Lang's hand. The ranger said indifferently, "Just break the head. The centipede's head is hidden near the brain." Chapter 289. It was a massacre in broad daylight. The brilliance of blood bloomed, and cruelty and evil spread out. The wedding of blood, the corpses, and the malicious spirits of the underworld returned to the human world. Their monstrous resentment could not be resolved, and they devoured lives and slaughtered living creatures. They wanted to turn the human world into a ghost realm. The ironhead ape held a gun in his hand and was vigilant. The malicious spirits surrounded him, and they howled. The corpses that had been dead for a long time had a crazy and strange, sun-ran smile on their faces. They regained the ability to move and launched crazy attacks until they died, as if they wanted to vent all the resentment of the malicious spirits that had died. All of this was like a nightmare. It was as if they were no longer in the human world. In this terrifying scene that exceeded expectations and challenged the limits of human imagination, even the powerful martial artists with superpowers could not help but feel scared and tremble all over. The ironhead ape swallowed a mouthful of saliva, calming its increasingly rapid heartbeat. All of this was beyond his understanding, and he could not accept it. However, compared to the strangeness of the resurrection of the corpses, what he could not accept was, Mom, 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 tear it apart and kill it. With a bang, the thick beam swept through the abdomen of a living corpse, and it was directly swept into two. The two halves of the living corpse twitched a few times and then fell to the ground powerlessly. Sun Lang took back the thick beam in his hand and carried it on his shoulder. He gave the ironhead ape a thumbs up. "Let me tell you, a baseball bat is the standard equipment to deal with zombies, and there are all kinds of special modification techniques. If you're a racer with a daughter, You can use nails to modify it into a mace. If you're a garbage collector, you can even add a rocket to it. That was right. This was the thing that the Ironhead ape could not accept the most. It was clearly such a dangerous, evil, and terrifying scene, but the person in front of him had turned it into some kind of special instruction. Not only was it not too scary, it was even a little funny. From the moment he killed the first living corpse with a gun, and after he said in a deep voice, "It's time to show you the various special skills to fight zombies that I practiced in Raccoon City, Good Luck City, Vicenna, the quarantine area of Boston, the Empire Sanatorium, and the vegetable field in front of my house." He began to convulse. To fight zombies, you need to use blunt weapons. Being big is good, being big is beautiful, and having a thick stick is justice. Sun Lang held the beam of the house with both hands and swung it around like a home run. The other living corpse's eyes bulged and its head shattered. Then, the living corpse collapsed to the ground like a pile of soft mud. Sun Lang, who had another kill, nodded at the iron-headed ape. Of course, you can beat people up too. Wrap a barbed wire around it, or something. That's how Glenn died. She couldn't understand what he was saying at all. Seeing how he was acting so matter-of-factly, was this common knowledge? The ironhead ape couldn't help but wonder if it had been living in the forest for too long and had been separated from society for too long. Had it already lost touch with the world? Seeing that Sun Lang was so excited, he could only nod. You're right, you're right. Right. Sun Lang inexplicably became happy. He raised the beam in his hand and directly stabbed another living corpse to the ground. Then, he turned his head and looked at the last living corpse. The last living corpse was a delicate and pretty little maid. Although her abdomen was empty, her face was pale, and her smile was evil, it could still be seen that she had a good aptitude when she was alive. Sun Lang originally wanted to give her an Argentinian suplex or a strangulation technique, but after seeing the other party's delicate little face and graceful figure, he hesitated. This living corpse didn't hesitate. She raised her hands and rushed at Sun Lang, opening her bloody mouth. Sun Lang dodged to the side and reached out to press on the living corpse's shoulder. Suddenly, the living corpse's delicate body shook violently. Her pale face actually flushed red. She trembled 3 times in a row, and the tight muscles in her body instantly became loose. She swayed a few steps left and right, and then her legs went soft and she fell to the ground. The iron-headed ape was watching with great force. After seeing this, its eyes almost popped out. What was this situation? What kind of skill was this? This. How did you do it? You didn't seem to use any strength? Before he had time to ask, Sun Lang snorted, I knew it. Useless thing. You're still so licentious even after death. You really disappoint me. After saying this, he struck out with his palm and chopped the living corpse that was trying to get up into a pile of rotten meat. Why are you suddenly angry? What's with the mixed expression of disappointment and relief on your face? Were you expecting something just now? A lot of questions arose in the iron-headed ape's heart. But before he could open his mouth, Sun Lang looked at him with a smile that didn't look like a smile. He made a shushing gesture and said gently, Monkey, I know you have a lot of questions in your heart, but I suggest you don't ask. Do you know why? The iron-headed ape felt a chill in his heart and secretly cursed. He could only lower his eyebrows and said, Because stupid people live longer? Wrong. Sun Lang's voice was unfathomable, and there was no emotional fluctuation in it. This made the iron-headed ape's heart uneasy, but the next moment, the ranger suddenly laughed. He pointed at his cheek with his finger and mischievously blinked his left eye, because boys always have their own little secret. What should I do? I really want to vomit. I really want to hit him, but I know that if I do that, I will definitely die. What should I do? Sun Lang's expression was kind and patiently guided. You must have a lot to say in your heart. It doesn't matter. Just have the courage and say it out loud. I definitely won't be angry. I'd be a fool to believe you. Sun Lang saw the iron-headed ape's evasive expression and sighed disappointedly. It's really difficult to change people's profession these days. The profession of roasting is very good. It can heal, and it's very balanced. You see, I'm the only one singing a one-man show. It's very lonely. Can you learn a little roasting skill? Unfortunately, the iron-headed ape had no idea what he was talking about. Lonely? Sun Lang shrugged. Forget it. The battle is over. It's time to loot the corpses. The iron-headed ape was worried about how to talk to Sun Lang. Hearing this, his spirit was lifted and he asked, "Loot the corpses?" "Yes." Sun Lang walked to a few corpses piled together and squatted down. Enemies usually drop some items such as money, equipment, experience balls, and so on. Some monsters also drop some rare ingredients that can be made into S-grade dishes. For example, he exerted a little force with both hands, and with the sound of flesh and blood being separated, he pulled out a big centipede with a thick body from a corpse. Then he smiled at the old iron-headed ape and asked, "How's my gathering skill?" The iron-headed ape looked at the huge centipede. Its segmented body hung down powerlessly, and its dense legs were still trembling unconsciously. A hint of fear and dread flashed in his eyes. He took a step back and said in a trembling voice, "Ingredients?" Sun Lang nodded. "Boil it in boiling water for a while and let the centipede spit out all its venom and urine. Then remove its head and tail, peel off its shell, fry it in oil, and mix it with condiments. It's very good. I heard from a stinky beggar that it's very delicious. Go find a pot, and we'll try it." As he spoke, he peeled off the large centipedes from the other corpses. Each of them had a huge body and densely packed legs. It was a daunting sight. The ironhead ape trembled with fear. "Are we really going to eat this?" Sun Lang rolled his eyes. "All right, stop joking now. My surname is not Bay." Without changing his expression, he placed the bloody centipedes in a row and wiped his hands on the clothes of the dead people. Then he stretched out his hand and lightly flicked the head of the centipede on the side. The long centipede's body trembled. Then it suddenly raised its head and opened its huge claws. Layers of segmented legs circled and intertwined. With a strong bounce, the centipede jumped up and bit at Sun Lang's arm. The ranger waved his hand casually, and a young pioneer's hand blade chopped the centipede's back, knocking it heavily to the ground and making it dizzy. The centipede seemed to have sensed the huge gap in strength between it and Sun Lang when its attack failed. It immediately rushed out a few meters away, and then its abdomen and legs twisted, quickly digging a hole. Its whole body drilled down, as if it wanted to use Earth escape. Sun Lang smiled and stretched out his hand to slap the ground. A few meters away, the ground suddenly exploded, and the centipede that had drilled half of its body into the ground was blown up into the air. The ranger did not look at the pitiful centipede that was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws in the air. He said lightly, "It is very aggressive and hostile, but it does lack intelligence. It is still a creature that acts according to its instincts. The corpses that it controls are the same, and so are they themselves." He stretched out his hand and knocked, waking up the second centipede. After the centipede woke up, although it subconsciously made an attack, in the next moment, its body bounced and fled outside. It did not attack Sun Lang. The ranger's eyes lit up. Is this a coincidence? He woke up the third centipede, which also chose to run away as soon as it woke up. Sure enough, it's not. Sun Lang stretched out his hand and grasped the air. The centipede that had fled 10 meters away seemed to have hit an invisible wall and could no longer move forward. The ranger's eyes lit up, and he said to himself, "After the first centipede woke up, it immediately attacked me. This is a creature's self-defense instinct, so it is very normal. But after the second and third centipedes woke up, they chose to escape immediately. They were in a coma before, but after waking up, they received the message, 'You can't win. Run quickly.' Did they release some kind of pheromone, or the ranger flicked his 5 fingers and woke up the fourth and fifth centipedes? Previously, when he was dealing with the living dead, Sun Lang used a heavy method to stun the flying centipedes and the corpses, causing them to fall into a coma so that he could use them for some experiments. Now, he had indeed gained some results. In this courtyard, The 5 centipedes flew into the sky and burrowed into the ground, looking for a chance to escape. Unfortunately, they encountered a vicious hunter. Sun Lang squatted on the ground and flicked his 10 fingers, constantly repelling the centipedes' escape attempts again and again. He set up an inescapable net, firmly suppressing these terrifying creatures that could parasitize the human body. His eyes became brighter and brighter. They're constantly trying new escape methods instead of stubbornly following one path to the end. They're even cooperating with each other and constantly formulating tactical actions. This is no longer something that can be done by releasing pheromones. But they indeed have no consciousness and no opinions, only instincts. Then, there's only one possibility. Sun Lang looked around and shook his head. Unfortunately, mental power isn't my forte, or I would have discovered something. The Ironhead ape was confused. What are you talking about? Sun Lang cast a sidelong glance at him. Before I explain it to you, shouldn't you say something to me? You seem to know this kind of thing and are very afraid of them? The Ironhead ape's face became very unsightly. I know this kind of centipede, but at that time, they only parasitize birds and beasts, and their bodies are very small, so they can only occupy small birds and beasts. Moreover, the creatures in the mountains live every day in the midst of hunting and being hunted, so they're extremely alert. The centipedes move slowly, so how can they be parasitized so easily? In addition, this kind of centipede is difficult to breed, so although it's strange, it's nothing. The ranger curled his lips. But now, it has become something at the level of a parasitic beast. Not only is it huge, but it's also extremely agile and violent. Its combat power is very strong, and it can parasitize humans and turn the dead into ferocious zombies. Maybe it can even spit out terrible parasites from its mouth. The Ironhead ape smiled bitterly. I've also thought about whether this kind of centipede can live on a human's body. If it can, how terrible would it be? I didn't expect it to really become a reality. Then why is it like this? Sun Lang touched his chin and pondered. According to your description, although this kind of centipede's way of survival and hunting are strange, it didn't become a disaster because it has many natural enemies and is weak. But now, its physiological defects have been made up one by one, and it has become a fierce predator that can even threaten the lives of all creatures. Do you have any clues as to why it has become like this? The Ironhead ape smiled bitterly. He was too scared to be shocked. So how could he have any clues? It's the clothes, the tattered Tucson, and the level of the posture needs to be improved. You feudal natives really have poor imagination. The time traveler Sun Lang said that this kind of plot development could be guessed with his toes. It must be some crazy scientist who wants to die. He spread his hands. Heaven has its own rules, and all things are in balance. There is no perfect creature. Even if there is, in the end, it will be the stars in the sky. This centipede is so awesome. Someone must have adjusted it and mutated it, he smiled. In this small Lu town, there are so many demons. In a short period of time, there are martial artists who make great leaps, monsters run rampant in the herb garden at night, and ferocious flying centipedes that can parasitize humans. What's more interesting is that there is a subtle connection between these three, and they all point in the same direction. Big news. The Ironhead ape was confused, but he finally grasped the main point of the question. Then what did you find when you studied these centipedes? Previously, we encountered a flying centipede in the herb garden. It was residing in an old monk's body. It knew how to deceive people, how to lie, and how to control a person's physiological functions. It was no different from a normal person. However, these centipedes were extremely stupid. They were just ordinary insects and beasts. Therefore, I have a guess. Could there be social classes among the centipedes? The high-level flying centipedes have their own intelligence and ideas. He walked a few steps to the side and pointed in the direction of the hall, where the body of 4th Elder Zhao was lying. This is the second discovery. In the entire mansion, everyone's body was hollowed out, and their spines were swallowed by the flying centipedes, turning them into living corpses that thirst for flesh and blood. But old Zhao's spine was hollowed out. Why is that? The iron-head ape pondered and said, "Are you saying that the flying centipede in fourth Elder Zhao's body is intelligent? It's very likely, but it could also be the murderer's trick." Sun Lang said calmly, "Not long ago, I found an excuse to beat fourth Elder Zhao and secretly checked his spine, but I didn't find any problems. But according to the current situation, no problem is the most terrible problem, because there are only two possibilities. First, the murderer deliberately dug out fourth Elder Zhao's spine. Although the purpose is unclear, it must be to mislead me." Sun Lang's eyes flashed, and he said faintly, "The second possibility is the most terrible. This means that the flying centipede living in the human body seems to have a way to change its shape and disguise itself as a spine, so that people can't find any abnormalities." He looked up. The fog had dispersed, but the sun was not warm. The sky was gloomy, as if it was going to rain, as if a terrible storm was brewing. Xia Age, Kong Zhongwu, the farmer, fourth sister-in-law Dan, and even, are you guys still yourselves? Who knows? Also, the spines of fourth Elder Zhao's family were all occupied by the flying centipede, and there were no wounds on the backs of the corpses. This meant that the parasitism didn't happen recently, and it wasn't forced by the adult centipede, but from the larval stage. Then the question was, how many cases like this were there? Who was controlling and operating all of this? A figure flashed in his mind. In the herb garden, there was a sweet smile. At this time, the iron-head ape seemed to remember something, and he suddenly slapped his thigh. "I remember that other than fourth Elder Zhao, there is also the head of the He family, He Chunlai. Let's go to the He family quickly. Maybe we can still make it." Sun Lang shook his head and said coldly, "It's too late. You came to make trouble for me this morning, and the murderer took away Kong Xie and the others when I was out to deal with you. We figured out the key to the problem, so we want to find fourth Elder Zhao first, and then we encountered such a thing. The murderer had time to empty out the internal organs of these people and arrange them like this. Do you think he didn't have time to kill He Chunlai?" "That's true." The iron-head ape nodded. Then the ranger's eyes were like lightning, and he said resolutely, "We can't be led by the nose by her. She's still far from tricking me." Chapter 290. After leaving this land of death that was filled with blood and slaughter, Sun Lang looked back and snorted coldly. "We don't have much time left," he said. Previously, when Lu Zhan died, his spine was also dug out. Now, old Master Zhao's family also died in the same way. I think He Chunlai's family will probably end up in the same way. The problem is that old Zhao and He Chunlai instigated a group of bumpkins to make trouble for me last night. The whole Lu town knows about last night's grudge, so..." He shrugged. "I'm afraid that these two massacres and the death of Li Zhang will be blamed on me. This is considered a serious criminal case. Qianhang Prefecture and even Suizhou City will be involved. If Six Fan School pursues the matter and even alarms the prefecture governor, I'm afraid it will be a big disaster. After all, after the war, the heroes of Tianyuan Empire will be rewarded. In the military and political system of Suizhou City, it's hard to guarantee that there won't be acquaintances who can recognize me. This move is really accurate and ruthless." Ironhead Ape frowned. "What a vicious open conspiracy, you're right. This is indeed an open conspiracy." Sun Lang snapped his fingers. "So, we can't jump into this trap. We can't let this enemy lead us by the nose. What does the enemy want us to do?" Sun Lang pondered for a moment. "It's simple. When I encounter such a tricky situation, my first reaction is what to do." "Oh, I see. But the more you want to come out, the more I can't let you out." Ironhead Ape was at a loss. Sun Lang turned to look at him with shining eyes. He reached out and patted him on the shoulder, saying solemnly, "Comrade Iron, it's time to serve the country." Although he didn't know what Sun Lang was up to, Ironhead Ape had figured out a way to deal with this new master. In short, he just had to follow what he said. It didn't matter if he didn't understand, as long as he could nod. So he immediately straightened up and said seriously, "Please tell me. It's like this. The king's army needs you to lead the way and submit a real proof of allegiance." Sun Lang waved his hand. "Do you know where your companions of the Five Savages Society usually make a living? Think of a way to lure them out. Let's give her a good thrashing." The iron-head ape sucked in a breath of cold air. "Master, that snake girl is fine. Although she's demonic, she's naturally seductive. She's a stunner. But the wolf woman is an old and ugly woman. You—" The corner of Sun Lang's eyes twitched imperceptibly, and then he said calmly, "It's okay. The wolf woman is for you. I'll eat meat, so you should drink some wild vegetable soup, right?" The iron-head ape was shocked and waved its hand hard. "No, no need, no need." Sun Lang rolled his eyes. "Don't worry, I'm not that cruel. No matter if it's a young and beautiful big sister or an old and decrepit granny, I won't touch them. I was just F***ing joking just now, playing the joke of drawing a sword. Do you, an Italian hillbilly, understand? I don't know what you're talking about at all." The iron-head ape knew that he had misunderstood. He lowered his head and said, "Master, there are only 5 members of the Five Savages Association. The tiger Rakshasa has already died in your hands. The whereabouts of the wolf woman and the snake woman have always been uncertain. We don't have any interactions or contact in private." "So," Sun Lang nodded. "Then take me to your boss. You should be able to contact him, right?" The iron-head ape nodded. "This is easy. After all, Tiger Rakshasa is dead. This is a big deal in the Five Savages Society. I need to report Tiger Rakshasa's death to the leader, and he will definitely ask me about it." The ranger smiled. "You're really straightforward in selling your old boss. If I don't sell, I'll die. I know what to choose." The iron-head ape said calmly. "Besides, you're stronger than him, so I'll always rely on you. This is the law of the jungle, the principle of the world. Of course, I won't go against it." Sun Lang nodded. "That makes sense. Then, lead the way. It's a little far. The meeting place between me and the leader is in a small village southeast of Lutown. The name of the place is Flat Bridge Village." At the same time, in the her garden, Lu Shujin was strolling in the back garden. She looked at the familiar grass and trees in her memory, and her heart was filled with mixed feelings. This was the paradise of her childhood. The mud wall filled with endless fun, the stone well railings engraved with beautiful memories. Now, the glorious and prosperous Lu mansion in her memory had already disappeared. But this wasn't the most painful thing. The most painful thing was that she had lost an important part of her memory. She didn't know why she didn't take revenge. Why did she sit and watch the her garden decline? She didn't know what she was doing. Melancholy and confusion rose in her heart. She let out a soft sigh. But in the next moment, something happened that surprised her. Not interesting, not interesting, not interesting. Sun Lang is so cunning. He actually doesn't play by the rules. After discovering that Zhao Laosi died, he should have immediately gone to the He family to find Yi Chunlai. Then, he should have discovered that the He family had been completely annihilated. Then, he would have been witnessed by others. In the end, he would have become the cruel murderer of 2 large families. After shouldering this crime, in order to quickly solve the problem and avoid attracting the attention of Sui Zhou, he could only come and find him. Why didn't he act according to the script I designed? A familiar yet strange voice echoed in her ears. But the person who made this clear and melodious voice was none other than Lu Shujin herself. Her mouth involuntarily opened, and her vocal cords vibrated as she spoke. She couldn't control or stop it. It was as if there was another soul controlling her body. Lu Shujin's entire body went cold. She shivered and focused her energy to seize back the right to speak. She sternly said, "Who are you?" The control of the vocal organ changed hands again. The light and lively voice laughed. "I'm you. Even now, you still don't understand? You're really stupid. I think Sun Lang has already figured it out." Lu Shujin stood in place. Her expression constantly changed. Sometimes it was as cold as ice, and sometimes it was as warm as the spring breeze. Her tone was sometimes cold and wavering, and sometimes it was warm and casual. It was as if two completely different souls were living in the same body. Through this strange method, they were conversing. Lu Shujin struggled to raise her hand and pressed it against her forehead. She suppressed the restlessness in her brain. She took a few steps back and gritted her teeth. I don't care who you are. This is my body. Get out. That's too much. Clearly, I also have a part of this body. The other personality let out a clear and melodious laugh, but it contained traces of unconcealable resentment. Get out? Unfortunately, some things can't be swept out like trash. Just like some things, once you've done them, you can't escape or hide from them. Lu Shujin said coldly. What are you trying to say? What I want to say is that all the things you've done in the past, all the emotions you've had, all of them are stored in me. I'm another you, Lu Shujin. The lively personality laughed. Although her voice was clear and melodious, it hid a chilling coldness. She giggled and said, You've forgotten all the things you've done in the past, but I remember them clearly. You definitely don't know what Sun Lang experienced in the battle at the Great Desolate Mountain, right? I know because I can guess. If I know, why can't you guess? Because you're missing some crucial memories. At the mention of this, Lu Shujin was furious. She said angrily, You're the one who took away my memories again? Why did you do that? How many times have you done it? The other personality laughed sarcastically. You're such a big idiot. You're such a coward. You're shirking your responsibility and running away from reality. You did all these first. You were the one who did it first, but now you're pushing all the blame onto me. However, it doesn't matter. I've always been a shield for you to shirk responsibility and escape from despair. I'm already used to it. If you continue to push the blame onto me, I won't mind. She chuckled and said, Because soon, you won't exist anymore. A coward who can't bear the burden of life and thinks nonsense every day has no right to live in this world. I'll replace you, replace everything about you, and guide your life towards new possibilities. I'll let you merge with me and become a brand new self. I don't know what you're talking about. Lu Shujin said with difficulty, You're such a crazy person. You're always so self-righteous, and you like to think that you're innocent. The inner personality chuckled and said softly, Someone like you still dares to stand in front of Sun Lang. How disgusting. Lu Shujin could no longer suppress the anger and fear in her heart. She shouted, What does this have to do with Sun Lang? There's no need for you to know. You only need to know that soon, very soon, Sun Lang will return to my side. I prepared a perfect gift for him to atone for his sins, to apologize, and to bring a new order to this cruel and ridiculous world. And you, she laughed, but before she could finish, Zhao Yunlong, who was not far away, noticed the commotion. He rushed over and stared coldly at Lu Shujin, his eyes flashing fiercely. The other personality was unmoved. She even waved her hand and said, Don't worry, General Zhao. Compared to that boring and cold-blooded woman, I'm much more obedient. I love Sun Lang deeply. Can we talk about him? It's about him, about his future, about his past. The figure flashed, and the wind from her palm whistled. Her hand chopped at Master Lu's neck. No. Zhao Yunlong supported Master Lu, who had collapsed weakly, and said coldly, Sun Lang said that he'll beat you whenever he sees you. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.